And we're on.
Hi.
How are you? How you doing?
I'm good, dude. Thanks for having me on here.
Thank you for coming on. I've been so nervous about today. I was in bed last night. I was like, I don't know if I can do this one. This is like the first one I was properly like, oh, fuck. I was like trying to research all week. And then I was like, oh, there's no point in researching because it just doesn't make any sense to me, which is fun. I'm really excited about it.
I guess that's why you have me on, right? So
Yeah.
you can ask the questions how you're thinking about them, and I can help try and we'll bridge that gap.
So why don't we'll start off by just telling everyone a bit of your like accolades and what you do.
So what I have done or what I'm currently working on right at the moment.
We'll start with the past. Where did it start?
Okay. So there's a bit of a story actually. I had a bit of a rough starting to my kind of career. I failed year 12 and spent like 3 years just like mucking around.
You failed year 12?
Yeah.
You did?
I did, yeah. I was very lost. I was kind of worked like 12 jobs, getting fired every 6 months, just, trying to party all the time. And I was just playing too many computer games, just not really focusing on anything, But then all my mates started graduating from their degrees, and I'm like, oh crap, I should probably do something. I was back in those days. I was actually playing a bunch of Minecraft with mates in high school, and I taught myself how to set up the server so we can all play together. And that was my first kind of introduction of I think I know how computers work. I kind of had a bit of an understanding of computers from getting that Minecraft server up and running. And then, maybe a year or two into that, I wanted to make a mod for the game. And because I found out, my mate's little brother was making a mod, and I was like, I'm the Minecraft guy. I want to make a mod too. And it was, there's a bit more to the story, but essentially, I had a bit of a stint thinking I was going to be an electrician for a while, and then I was going down that pathway. But when I was kind of working on jobs, I would, in the game of Minecraft, I would wire up things. So there's this thing called redstone in Minecraft where you can make kind of electronic machines and stuff. And I started teaching myself how to do electrical circuits and stuff in the game of Minecraft. And then I really loved that. So I actually went to university and I was like, I want to be an electrical engineer. I want to wire up things as a job because I thought that was really, really cool. And I figured out I'm pretty good at the wiring up stuff. But then, when I wanted to make a mod for Minecraft, basically I wanted to learn how to change the game in some way. And I'm like, all right, what do I do? And then essentially I looked it up and it said, you have to learn how to program, and I had never programmed before, so I'm like, fuck it, let's go and learn how to program. So within 2 days, I'd done 80 tutorials on YouTube,
Jesus
and I was
Christ.
just I found myself just obsessed with it. And
so you were self-teaching?
Yeah, well, initially, because I wanted to make a mod, and I didn't think about going to uni for that. I'm like, I'll just teach myself how to do it. Fuck it, I'll figure it out. And I it's basically when I started doing that, I realized the thing that I loved about the circuitry wiring up in the game of Minecraft was not the fact that there were wires. It was the fact that I had to walk away and try and solve the problem in my head. And I realized that's all programming was. It was, there's no wires you're connecting. It's just you trying to solve the problem in your head about how do you make it do what you want it to do. And then I'm like, all right, screw that. So I went back to uni because I was in the middle of enrolling in an electrical engineering, degree, because I thought I wanted to do, wiring up. But I realized, no, it's actually programming. So I went to uni and I'm like, all right, how do I do programming instead? And they said, well, everything you're doing right now, because I had to go back and redo year 12 maths and redo year 12 physics, and I had this whole plan that I was in the middle of doing. And they say, if you want to do software engineering instead, you can. You don't have to change anything, right? You just when it comes to selecting which degree, you select software engineering. And that was the beginning of how I went from failing at 12 to slowly over 3 years getting back my life and trying to start my career in that way.
So and all of this stemmed from Minecraft, essentially.
Yeah, well, I played a lot of computer games as a kid.
What was your? Were you a MMORPG kind of guy, or?
I mixed it up. I played a lot of Halo back in
Halo.
Yeah,
That's
Halo 3 when I was
in
in year 10. I guess yeah. My sister and my mum and my sister's boyfriend had a lot of fights with me because I wouldn't like get off off Halo when I was in high school.
Dude.
I was like a rat bag, man, as a teenager.
You're roughly about how old are you?
31.
You're 31. So
Yeah.
when we were growing up, because I'm 20, I'm 30 this year.
Okay, yeah.
I remember when we were growing up, video games, maybe in when did the PS2 come out? That was the game changer. The Xbox and the PS2. Maybe like year 5 or year 6 or 4, around there. Somewhere around there.
Yeah, around those times.
And games started getting good, and then you could start playing like LAN games like with people, and the Gears of War came out, and then fucking like Call of Duty, like Modern Warfare came out.
Yeah, Call of Duty COD 4.
COD 4
that was
came
the classic,
out.
yeah.
And like it was just so much. It was like TikTok to kids. It was like it felt so real and like so fun.
Very addictive.
Like 10 hours a day.
Very, very addictive.
Like 10,
I
12
was
hours a
obsessed.
day.
I would stay up all night, every night.
But who knew that these things are now avenues to major sources of income?
I know.
Like Twitch streaming.
I know, it's crazy. Like you can be a millionaire, without doing any tertiary study. You can just play games and make money.
And those people though, they're just like they're the exception when they're earning like tens of millions a year. There's people that are earning comfortably like 100,000 a year that you don't even know. That just have a weird niche. Like Minecraft's massive now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah.
But yeah, we went off on a test. So you've done that, and then.
So where was I? I was saying that. Remind me where I was at. I was going into university. Yeah.
Yeah, you're just starting uni.
Just started uni. Yeah. So I felt like quite a bit of a failure. I failed year 12, and all my mates had already kind of graduated.
Yeah.
It was 3 years past being 18, so. I that's when like this fire burned to me, like, oh crap, I need to catch up.
Yeah.
And that fire hasn't been put out, and I still feel like, oh shit, I need to catch up. And it's just like this fire that's just like, it's been under my bum, and it's been like 8 years now, and I'm still just going, really, really hard at it. So what happened was I went in and I was like, all right, cool. Actually, I was a bit frustrated that like I had never learnt programming in high school, because back in those days there was no programming. These days,
do they teach programming now?
It's getting more and more into it. So there's like people are creating programming languages that kids can learn, and like it's being integrated more into child development, which I think is really important.
Coding would be such a fucking good topic to teach high school kids.
Yeah, I definitely see it being like on par with maths. Like I think it's so, because everything has a computer in it. I think as a human race, we all need to know how to like control the computers, and I think it's going to be seen just as important as like maths in the future.
Well, it's definitely it's going to be one of the main job sources or it already is becoming that. Even just more computer studies, like how to edit a fucking video and things like that. So many kids that aren't even 18 now are earning, like 16-year-olds are earning thousands of dollars a week just sitting at home and getting jobs on Fiverr, just making clips.
Yeah.
It's a totally different world now.
Yeah, and I think the biggest one is the analogy that I tell people quite a lot is if you imagine every career that ever exists on the planet right now. So you got lawyers, you got chefs, you got bankers. Every profession you can ever think of. And you imagine them being like on this kind of line here, where there's a lawyer here, there's a banker here, and on that line there is a programmer, right? It's only one of those jobs there is a programmer. However, every single one of those industries all need computers that have been programmed. Mm-hmm. So you choosing to be a programmer,
you're at the source.
You're at the source, but essentially you're actually kind of choosing all careers. So for example, if you got a mate of yours who's a lawyer, right, and you want to make and you want to change the courts, right, and he makes a startup with you because you're the programmer. Now you kind of learn everything about the law because you'll start making this law app, right? Or your mate's a civil engineer and he wants to make a new product, and you can work with him, and now you can be a civil engineer because you learn everything about their industry while you make the software that helps them, right? So you choosing programming, same thing. A mate of mine, I've got some friends in the past who, oopsie, is that right?
We're all good. Lucky.
Lucky.
All good.
All good. Yeah, I've got some friends in the past who got jobs being software/systems engineers for the submarines being built, right? So you kind of become a submarine engineer, right?
No shit.
So just choosing programming means that you can kind of do all careers.
Yeah, it just depends who you're working with or what you're working for at the time.
Which is another reason why I think it's like, all high school kids and primary school kids are everywhere. It's going to be like the mandatory thing eventually that programming is required because everything needs it.
So you went to uni, and what did you major in uni?
So I started just pure software engineer. There was no majors in Adelaide Uni back at the time.
Oh, right.
They've changed things now, but it was just pure software engineering at the time. So yeah, I was kind of frustrated that I didn't learn back in school. So my first, I mentioned there was that fire burning under me, and I'm like, I gotta catch up. But I also, there's something I didn't mention as well. So another game that I used to play, and this was, I think, one of the most important games for me that actually turned me into who I am now and what kind of has driven me to do the things I'm doing now, was actually playing the game RuneScape. I'm not sure if you've ever played RuneScape before.
So my missus always pays me off because that's just one word. I have this weird a speech thing where I can't properly say it. I say RuneScape. I can't fucking say it.
RuneScape.
I don't know why. Rune. I say ruin.
You're like, yeah, it's a tongue twister.
Oh, it just fucks me.
It fucks you.
I never got into it, but when I was in year 5, 6, and 7, my friends were fucking obsessed with it.
Yeah,
it was crazy. It was mad. It's still going now, really hard.
It's still going. Yeah, they've been quite successful with it. They've managed to change the game and grow it enough that they keep people wanting to keep playing. And
it still has a massive player base.
Massive, yeah. So in this game, this game was actually primarily the reason why I failed year 12 because I actually didn't know. I didn't submit any assignment. I was just playing RuneScape.
That's
Mum hated me at the time.
Well, she'd be happy now.
Oh, she's stoked that things have turned around.
What a U-turn!
Yeah. It's like I'm like the miracle son.
No shit.
Things are just whoop, this changed direction. But in that game, because back then it took 3 months of full-time work to max out one of the skills, right? And there's 30 skills.
It's a grind.
It's 20 skills. There's a lot of skills, and back in those days, you had to sit there and click constantly all day, every day. And in the game, they give you this reward. They give you this kind of fancy cape around your character. So, and everyone can see it, right? So you walk down the street in the game of RuneScape, and all these people have seen oh my god, you've maxed out one of the skills, and you just get chains of people following you just because it's so crazy that they're seeing someone with one of these capes. And so basically I think I saw one of these people, I saw someone who had maxed one of these skills out, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I just I ended up going super serious. So I had a spreadsheet, and I was timing myself, and I went full, worker mode of figuring out how I was going to do that. And basically to get one of those capes, it felt impossible, right? And then I guess applied myself, and I went really, really hard at it, and I ended up managing to get one. And I ended up basically repeating the same thing and getting 2, 3, 4 capes in this game. And basically I previously thought that was impossible.
Yeah.
I thought it was you had to have no life at all, and I thought it was something that it was impossible for me to do. And then through hard work, I realized it was possible. So when I went to uni, I was kind of searching for what's the skill cape. I had this belief in myself because that belief had been switched on by that game of RuneScape because I knew I could do it.
You knew you could grind it out.
I knew whatever it was, I could grind it and I could still get to the end goal. So I was kind of searching for what is that thing to aim for, the skill cape to aim for.
It's like that with everything though. If you have the ability to knuckle down and fucking grind anything out, you're gonna be better than most people at it. It's just a lot of people don't have that kind of determination to actually grind and just persevere. And even though it's just a game like RuneScape, it's just a game. The amount of fucking physical hours you have to put in to get that cape would be insane.
Yeah, it really was. And I think the big one is like, nothing changes while you're clicking, and there's only one change at the very end when you get the cake. Like, you don't like have a half cake along the way. There's no sign that you're even close until you've got it. And it kind of like, it allowed me to be okay with having nothing in the for now, knowing that the big juicy thing's going to happen once I keep grinding. So like, 'cause some people, they grind, or they go to grind and then they notice nothing's changing, right, and they give up. It's like people suddenly, like going to gym, they stop after 3 months because they're like, I can't see any change, and they kind of get disheartened. But really, you got to be there for a long time to get the results, right? So yeah, I'm not even like 1 month into the story yet. So like, starting university, I had this fire. That's kind of a part of where the fire came from. And I was going really, really hard, and I put so many hours into uni. I was single at the time, and I was just putting 70 hours a week into it. Like, I actually didn't see my mates for 2 years. It was like, they call it my gap year. And
so you obviously have like a pretty addictive personality. Very
addictive. Yeah. It's one of my biggest like weak points.
And success, like, and probably one of your biggest like factors to your success.
Yeah, exactly. And, it actually like hurt quite a lot of my mates that I kind of cut them off because I was just so focused on the work. But in my mind, I was like, you guys have all graduated. I got to go focus now, to kind of catch up. And it's, I guess tunnel vision, and that's been one of the main things that I've changed ever since then, because that was it was very, very good for my career, but it was damaging for my social life as well. So I went hard, and at the end of my first year of uni, I bumped into a few guys at a quiz night. There's like a university quiz night that I was attending, and my mind was like kind of blown. I met these guys, and they were like, "Oh, I'm going to be interning at Google this year. I'm going to be interning at Facebook, at Microsoft this year." And I didn't know that was possible, that you could, go on, to one of those companies. And when I heard that immediately became like that skill cape. I was like, it sounds impossible. That sounds like, like the RuneScape skill capes. So, just like what I did with RuneScape, where I had like a spreadsheet and I planned out every step. I sat those guys down, I asked for a coffee, and those guys ended up becoming my best mates, because I was just like so obsessed with trying to do it too. So I was just like always around them. We ended up gymming together, and it was like, like my little family. But I basically, figured out like, where am I now? What does it take to get into, a big tech company? What is everything you need to learn? And they gave me this massive list of stuff you need to do. Like, read this book, read that book. And I'm like, okay, done. And I was just like obsessed with just following their instruction. And within 6 months, I ended up landing an internship at a company called Palantir. In Canberra.
So you sent me I asked you for a thing of your like criteria just so I could read up about it. That was the only one I wasn't sure what it was.
Yeah, Palantir is like a company that has a bad rap around the world.
In Canberra.
They have an office in Canberra, but they're famous for making software that actually helps intelligence agencies. Basically, the software that allows intelligence agencies to like bridge connections between things. So, like, if like the example is if there was a stabbing at this street corner over here, and you think these three people, or one of these three people over here, are involved. You kind of put that event onto onto the graph, and you'll put these three people onto the graph, and because you already have information about all of these people, you can kind of like expand like what's connected to these people. Oh, this person has made some phone calls, so like expand it out, and basically you can keep expanding it until there's a connection of like, how is this person connected to this stabbing?
Oh, no
right?
Shit.
And this was invented a while ago, and because Palantir's been around for a while, but like it kind of stemmed from 9/11. Like we had the information to stop 9/11 happening. The information was all there, but like there was no way for us to like manage that data to even make the connection, right?
Yeah.
So that was kind of like the birth of Palantir. So I worked for them, and I was working for
Why aren't they like loved worldwide? Is it because of the whole how like personal it is?
People hate government, hate that the government has the ability to spy on them. Palantir make that software, so then they just connect Palantir essentially with and then they all companies do bad things here and there, and it's like it just adds to that list. So they just go, I hated company. But being at the company, that were actually the most positive company I was at. Like, it was like the best experience I had, because everyone was just so like, everyone just loved like because that was one of the things they'd done, but they put a lot of energy into helping other companies with how can they make sense of their data. And but essentially what what I did there was I was helping the Australian Aid Relief the Australian Aid Relief organisation, and they were wanting to figure out how they can help Papua New Guinea in the case of a disaster. So I was working with another intern and a couple other software engineers, and we built a product for them that can they can see the whole map of Papua New Guinea and if something happened, here's where we can base our operations from. And they flew me over there, and we had to get the data of all their schools and stuff and fly it back. And so there was very, very cool kind of little internship. It was and then so I came back and I'll kind of fast forward through because I did a bunch of them, so I won't try and sit too long on each of them. But came back, kept going, and I a few of my mates had more than one internship, and so I was like, I want to get more internships. I want to experience more things. So I came back, applied for Microsoft because they came to the school and they had recruiters there. So I went to the recruiter. Ended up getting offered an internship with them. So I was, practicing and grinding preparation for these interviews every time. But Microsoft flew me over to Seattle, where I was working on, I was working on their new email application.
Yeah, I read that.
On the front end. And I actually found that quite boring. And I was questioning whether or not I wanted to be in the career after that, because I felt like I was working for a bank. It was very you're in a little cubicle and, there's no windows around. And it was just quite it was the type of software. Uninspiring. And it was team dependent. My mate who was interning with me had the craziest team, and I was so jealous of everything he was getting from his own internship. But I just kind of drew the short straw with my team there. Yeah.
But working with big companies as well, is it almost better to go to smaller companies where you can probably get tested more, whereas going to a bigger company like Google and kind of being at the bottom of the barrel?
Yeah, it's a big pro and con you got to weigh up here. So if you go to a small company, you get way more responsibilities. You do so much more because they're so lacking in hands to do the work. So they give you so much autonomy and responsibility. And definitely in a big company, you don't get that. Of course, you're such a small cog. In their machine. Google
would have to be the biggest company in the world. One of.
Amazon and Microsoft are pretty up there with their numbers of software engineers. But yeah, it's Google, Amazon, used to be Facebook, but things they've dropped off the plate a little bit recently. And of course Apple as well, because they just
Facebook are going really hard on their metaverse, and it's not working.
Yeah.
You got to probably watch what you say. But
or I'm not in Facebook at the moment. Yeah. But
you have worked for Facebook?
No. So I was offered an internship at Facebook, and I was going to go, but COVID kind of messed it up. So that was a sad time in my life.
Have you done any social media company?
No, Facebook would have been the first social media company. Yeah.
I find it really interesting when you start working for social media companies, because some of them are pretty fucked up. But that like you said, pros and cons of everything. Mm-hmm. But it just depends. If you're setting up the software that is so invasive on some certain ones. I think TikTok's probably the worst for it. How they can as soon as you download the app and put in your details, they just have everything on your phone.
Yeah. I don't ever want to be working on such invasive types of software. Adware, even stuff that goes into the decisions of when notifications pop up, because that's highly addictive. And I just don't like how these companies, purposefully, try to maximize screen time.
Yeah.
Because what you're doing is manipulating underdeveloped brains, because it's always the teenagers.
No one does that better than TikTok. I can fucking waste, I don't know if you have it, but I can waste 3 hours without even thinking.
Yeah, I actually deleted the app and haven't gone on it because of how addictive it is.
Their algorithm is the fucking best algorithm I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's like they know exactly what to show you to make you not turn the app off.
It's insane.
Like, and time will fly by.
And it's within 10 minutes of downloading it. It already knows. Like,
yeah, there's no questions it asks you. Like, as soon as you download it, like before making an account, they show you the first video to get you hooked. You know what I mean? It's all this perfect little scenario, like little machine that this perfect little addiction machine is TikTok.
How did you get into? So I'm sure you were leading there. How did you get into the robotics area?
Okay, yeah. So
because that's the craziest shit to me.
Okay, yeah.
Because it's so, now that I know that you fucking failed year 12.
Yeah,
it's so impressive.
Yeah. So the robotics. So I was towards the end of my degree. I wanted to do something in the summer, and I knew a professor that did do robotics in the university. Oh, yeah, you got it up here.
Yeah, I got it up all ready to go. Just so you can, when you start talking about it, we can put it up for everyone.
Sweet, yeah. So I needed to do something in the summer, and I had done a little bit of AI machine learning in my undergrad because they have a couple courses to kind of sprinkle some in a bit. Yeah. Basically, they have like they've got some courses to sprinkle some knowledge about, they get you a little bit into AI. So I knew a little bit about it. I did like an online course just to like learn a little bit more because a mate of mine was working in AI in the field, and that was his guidance. And I came and basically worked on this project. So. And that was basically like a summer research scholarship. It wasn't actually in the masters. It was like kind of towards the end of my undergrad, and it was this that made me decide that I don't want to be working for Google and Microsoft. I had a great career lined up for me working as a software engineer, but this project made me decide to just 180 my entire career from software engineer to pure AI research. So if you wanted to play it, so.
Got that there, so I can bring it up on the screen. Oh shit! Right, here we go.
Yeah. So what's happening here is, basically, what I did was I had an Xbox controller and I had it hooked up to the robot arm, and I can control this thing, and it was kind of like I was playing a computer game. So what I was looking at was when I was using the Xbox controller, I could see through the screen. It'll come up again, like the screen that's sitting behind the arm there. I was looking through that camera and controlling it. Just like I had some pretty easy to use Xbox controller buttons. Like it was pretty normal kind of movement. So what I did was I played about 10 hours of this thing, and I recorded myself doing this task. So picking up rubbish and putting it in the bin, just like for 10 hours. And basically
10 hours straight or 10 hours in total?
10 hours in total, but it was like 2 days. I was like just grinding for like 2 days.
Fuck.
Yeah, because I was trying to get it done pretty quick. So I guess, what am I doing today? And I guess, it was kind of fun because people would come up and stand around and talk to me while I was doing it. So basically, I recorded myself doing this task on this robot for hours, and specifically what I was recording was I was recording all of the video footage you see on the screen behind the arm, so every frame of that video, but also for every frame of that video, I was recording what are the Xbox controller buttons I'm pressing at that moment in time. So if you could freeze the frame, like if you can press pause right now, you can imagine like that picture right now that would get saved, and then the buttons that I was pressing on the Xbox controller at that moment in time would get saved as well, right?
Yeah, right.
So what I did was I used then a neural network where a neural network will learn if you give it examples, it will learn to kind of do those examples too. That's essentially without going into
that's a basic principle of AI.
That's the basic principle. AI can only do what you show it to.
Yeah.
Right. So basically, I gave it an image and I told him, I told the guy, this is what you should be pressing. Like these are the Xbox controller buttons you should be pressing. And then, what the neural network did was it learned to take that image and predict what it thinks the Xbox controller buttons should be, right? And eventually, after training, because after going through every frame to Xbox controller buttons combination, because there was like 10 hours of that, so a lot of like pairs, it eventually got fairly good at it, right? And then, so once I'd done the training, I removed the Xbox controller myself, and I hooked this neural network up to control itself. So basically what it does is it takes the picture of the video and it chucks that through its neural network that it's learned, because it learned from my examples, and then it figures out what the Xbox controller buttons it should be pressing, and then it gets like basically presses those buttons.
How long does it take? So, like, how long will it take to start learning when it shouldn't? Is it a specific time, or does it just do it over time? Does it learn do different things learn at different speeds, depending on like power?
Yeah, like there's many like
heaps of factors,
like knobs you can turn. Like how much does it learn at each learning step, and so basically like what happens is it takes an image and then like it learns to guess what the Xbox controller buttons is or isn't correct, and let's say it does it correctly. Like let's say it happens to accidentally the first time it ever tries, because like the brain is random numbers initially. So what it does initially is usually wrong. Mm-hmm. So let's say it gets an image and then it gets it wrong. So the buttons that it predicts are wrong. Then you can actually get that information and say to the neural network, what you did just then was incorrect. So I want you to like slightly very like a minuscule amount change all your numbers inside your brain such that you'll be more correct next time. And or don't do that again is more what it is. Like whatever you did then that was wrong, don't do that again. So go in the opposite direction, because it does have this like sense of like opposite direction and not opposite direction. Yeah. Okay. I won't get exactly how it knows that, but it does have that ability. And then vice versa, if you give it like a picture and it gets it right, so you pass a picture and it passes through this neural network and it guesses the Xbox control buttons correctly.
Yeah.
Then then you go back through all the brain and you say, whatever you did just then, do that a bit more, right?
Yeah.
And then you do that like a million times.
That's
right?
fucking crazy.
It's and you give it like a new image every time, and it learns, or given any image, I'll know what the Xbox control buttons should be. So all it does is just learn to copy the data you've given it, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't know what's happening around it. It just knows image, Xbox control buttons. That's all that's the whole world.
Yeah.
So then, and then what you get is this result here.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, this is this result where every frame, like 20 times a second, is going through this neural network and changing the Xbox controller buttons, and it turns into this fluid thing that can just basically copy the way I was controlling it.
So what was the process from start to finish? How many like days or weeks did this take?
So I spent 3 to 4 months on this from start to finish.
Jesus.
Because I was learning how to do it 3 months beforehand.
Yeah.
And I ended up with this working thing 3 to 4 months later. And I had this guy who was standing around me, helping me. He was guiding me because he'd done a bunch, and he was kind of like guiding me what to do. So I wasn't just kind of figuring out by myself. I had someone really kind of teaching me.
Yeah. That's crazy. But so did you find was that just was this just a study or like a project, or was there supposed to be like a actual use for it for the tech?
Yeah. So it was purely just a little research project.
Yeah.
I was going to write a paper about it.
Because that'd be fucking cool. You put like one of them on like a truck and just drive it through. It just picks all the shit up off Hindley Street.
Yeah. And
there could be practical use for that.
Definitely, and I think that is the world we're going to. I think they're already being used in shipping containers. So there's big giant arms that take all those containers off and put them, either on the shore and put them on the boat, or vice versa. And they're already using this tech to do that work because it's so just monotonous.
Do you know what fucking buzzes me out? Amazon's factories, their super factories where they do all the picking for their orders. Have you seen them?
I haven't seen that. No.
You haven't seen they got these robots? There's no workers in there. It's all robots.
Right.
And they work on this fucking grid. So I'll get it up for you to watch. There's these grids, and the robots are flying at like 60, 70 k's an hour, and they just never hit each other. There's thousands of them,
and they're just like
and they're just picking. They're just got. I don't know if it's like an AI thing or if it's just like a grid they've made, but it's insane.
Yeah. This is it's like these big companies are getting pretty intense with their robotics. Pull it up.
Robots warehouse. I'm fairly sure Amazon.
Inside Amazon smart warehouse.
Yeah, that's the one there.
That's the one.
I think so. This is 2 years old as well, so it's probably just gotten better. Where is it? Skip ads, of course. Come on, where are you? Skip forward a bit. But yeah, I first seen this and it was just, they're so... Is this the right video? Yeah, I think it is.
To a human picker situated at a stationary...
Oh, no, this isn't the video I seen.
Okay, right.
So the video I seen, I can't find it, but they have like a grid pattern set into these robots, and they're probably about this big, and there's probably like 3 people in the whole 1 acre warehouse just monitoring that the robots don't crash.
Why should you use
And so the warehouses are fully autonomous. It's crazy.
And like, so basically what, they're just storing boxes and...
and picking order. Say you place an order, they'll go...
Just go and get it.
Grab the item, bang, shipped.
Put it onto the truck.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's insane, but they're flying around and they're millimeters apart.
How fast are they moving around? Like,
they looks fast, but they're probably only going 20 to 30 k's an hour, but that's still pretty quick.
It's quick enough to like cause damage if they crash.
If they crash, because there's so many of them, but they're just flinging, but I think they've just built more like a grid pattern in them, so they just never hit each other. They're just working perfectly.
Like lanes, I guess. Like,
on right angles, always on right tight angles. But fuck, it's incredible. I won't off camera when I can have time to like actually look at it. We'll look it up.
Yeah, sweet.
And another one was that I was going to ask you about was that Boston Dynamics. Do you know much about that company?
Yeah, I follow them quite heavily. I love that company. It's so cool.
They are going to end the world. They are going to be the ones that make something that goes wrong because their stuff is crazy.
They do have really crazy robots. Yeah.
Didn't they got the jumping one that can do a backflip and stuff?
Yeah. I've seen that video. Yeah, it's I think it's like
these guys here. If anyone hasn't seen Boston Dynamics, it's this group here. They're fucking so good.
I think
Atlas does parkour.
Or Atlas gets a grip. Yeah.
It's just insane how it just moves. It just moves like a person.
Yeah, I was actually chatting to
that looks like CGI.
It looks like CGI, yeah, and even
it is real though.
Corridor, it is real. Like Corridor Digital, you know, have you heard of that YouTube group? They're like the famous CGI like YouTube group.
No.
And they do stuff that looks so realistic that it looks like this. And they did this massive episode where they were like pulling apart these videos that Boston Dynamics releases, and they were like explaining how this cannot be CG, and they were like kind of showing like giving their explanation and reasonings why, you know, it's impossible.
It can't be CGI.
It can't be CGI. Like this here is a sign that it's real. This here is a sign that's real. And I actually did see Spot, the dog.
The robot dog. That was their first kind of big thing, wasn't it?
With the arm, and it's like it's a bit cute, you know.
It is, yes. And when are they going to mass produce those?
They are selling them to warehouses. So
it's a working like instrument.
It's like remote power plants out in the sticks, and you need to make sure it's monitored all the time. Maybe someone doesn't go out there for 3 days, but you know, usually you'd pay someone to be out there camping out there for 3 days. So what they do is they have this spot dog just patrolling.
No shit.
And there's like 2 or 3 of them, and they've like, you know, pre-programmed like where the path is, and they kind of tell it like, these are the things that you need to like scan and take pictures of every day. So like every day, like back at base, in the city, they just get like all the pictures of the things that they need to look at every day, because Spot has gone around and taken photos of the things they need to see, and and if anything goes wrong, like if a path is blocked, Spot will like report that back in because it can't get through. Yeah, so like they're already using it now. It's out there. Yeah.
I remember seeing videos of it was. I'm pretty sure they were fake though, of these people abusing robots.
Like kicking
them
it.
and stuff.
Well, I think Boston Dynamics did like release a video doing that, right? Is that what you're referring to?
I think so. It was a few years ago, and I felt almost bad.
Yeah, I think
like watching it, I was like, oh, like it feels like almost animal abuse or something. It's like real weird and it's a weird feeling because it's a fucking robot.
Yeah.
But it's like, it just feels odd to watch them hit these things because they're obviously not sentient. They can't feel it, but it's still weird.
I guess we as humans like give everything emotions. Right?
Yeah.
And so we naturally kind of assume that this thing feels and this thing's like it's hurt by what we've done.
Before we get into the weird stuff, we'll finish your story.
Oh yeah.
After that, was that after or before your NASA competition?
Oh, so the NASA competition was after this. Yeah.
That was 2020.
2020. Yeah. So basically, I was in between the undergrad and the masters, and I was trying to figure out what to do. COVID hit, and I was a bit in limbo. And a mate of mine came to me and said, "Hey, NASA have this competition, and Adelaide Uni, like a bunch of like mechatronic robotic engineers from Adelaide Uni were part of our university's team that got us qualified, and they're looking to expand the team." Basically, he kind of laid out like, this is how well everyone went in the qualifiers, and basically convinced me that, hey, we actually have a decent shot of doing well in this thing, given by, like going by how the qualifying team had went. So he sold me on it, and it was a 6-month kind of endeavor. So I managed to get a desk at the university full time, and I just sat there full time with that. And essentially like what it was is if we as humans want to go to outer space and if we want to go to outer space and have bases on the moon like Elon Musk wants, it's not going to be possible if we're relying on shipping every single thing from Earth to Mars. Yeah, so it's this one here. Yeah, so it's just not possible to ship everything over. So we're going to have to mine things like from the moon, and it had never ever been tried of like what are the complications going to be if we need to mine stuff on the moon. So basically, what NASA did is they held this competition and it's basically like casting a wide net over the world and trying to get people interested and excited into this problem. How do we get robots to automatically mine resources on the moon?
So they don't already do that?
No. It's never ever been tried before, and that's what this competition was.
No shit. I always thought that they did mine stuff from the moon, not like material and that for testing.
Oh right, yeah. So on Mars, yeah, you're right. Sorry, I should say that. Yeah, so on Mars they do have the rover. I forget its name, but it has this drill that it can drill into the surface.
I did not know I was right about that either. So let's not make this like I knew something that you didn't. I don't want everyone to think that I just knew something that he didn't. That was really just luck.
Well, you definitely did. So
I should have fucking shut up.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, so Mars does have this like thing that has a drill, and it can grab some soil and pull it up. But then like it has this like instrumentation. Like this is like the rover we have currently on Mars. It has this instrumentation inside of its body, and it goes and tests the soil to see like what is this soil and like what is it made up of. Is there water there? They're essentially looking for water and looking for any other minerals that is useful for us or to
see if it's inhabitable.
Or maybe any signs of life. Like there's tons and tons of questions they want answered, and they currently do like one of the ways they're doing it is by taking some and it's like that much dirt. It isn't. It isn't much. Right?
I've seen a YouTube video where they just like inject it in the ground, and it goes into a tube, and then it goes inside its body.
Yeah.
And then it would obviously come back to Earth eventually, or does
So not bringing things back to Earth, they just send back the data.
they send back? Oh, really?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah, so nothing's coming back currently from Mars. ever.
Nothing's ever come back from Mars.
No, nothing that's been on the planet has
That's
ever
what
come back.
Elon's going for now. Isn't
He's
it?
trying to get us on the planet and be able to come back. Yeah, he really wants us to get
With
there.
what's that technology he has? So like this is going to sound so dumb coming from me.
No,
So
not
he's
at all,
got
mate, yeah.
that. So the rocket goes up, the thrusters break off, and now they're reusable because they land perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
SpaceX stuff.
SpaceX,
Yeah. Do you know much about SpaceX? And
I know a bit about it. Like I watched all the launches and testing launches and all that, but I don't know enough to explain how it works. I just know that he's invented, or I think does it work? What he's done with the reusable thrusters,
essentially perfectly. Yeah, like
and they land perfectly back
there's
on
one
the
that's
launch
like
pad.
that's done like 9 trips or something. Yeah, like it's
Where do they go though? Just past like the atmosphere.
yeah. So as far as I know, they go to like the edge of the atmosphere. I'm not too familiar. Like I'm not too
Like you're not familiar with like
the exact layers of our Earth's atmosphere. So I don't know the exact one they go to, but they essentially go up and they disconnect. And the payload or like the nose of the rocket goes off and does what it needs to do
into orbit.
Either
Or wherever the fuck
orbit
it's
to
gone.
go orbit to go to the space station to like deliver stuff, or maybe to go to the moon, or anywhere you want to go. But the other part of the rocket like will turn around and go back, and depending on which direction and when it was launched and where it was launched from. So they have like a base over in like in different parts of America. So depending on where they are, like they don't want a rocket to be like going over cities. So like sometimes they land it like on like a ship in the water, or sometimes
Who the fuck's gonna put their hand up to go to Mars?
well there's tons of people.
You're not coming back.
There's no way you're coming back.
You're
yeah.
not coming back the first trip.
The first trip, are all gonna die.
You're not, or not even die. It's just like, you are.
Like probably
You are. And how much are you getting paid? Like what?
You're getting famous.
You would need a fucking lump sum to, and I don't know. That's just a lot.
I think like
How much is it? Have they said how much they expect the trip to be?
I don't know the figures. It's millions, billions. I don't know if it's billions, but yeah, like hundreds of millions of dollars would just be like, or in terms of like
How long it would take to get there.
Oh, how long it would take. Yeah, so that actually depends on the orbits of the planets. So because
Are you pretty well versed in this?
I know bits and pieces like
just from doing that.
No, not this. Like
You're a bit of a space geek.
A bit of a space geek. Like I think Dad bought me a book when I was young.
Are you an alien boy?
I am not too hot on the aliens.
You're not hot on aliens.
Well, like, I'm not that hot on the aliens.
It's a thing. I think once you as you get smarter, you just don't. But I'm still I'm still fucking stupid, so I'm all in with them.
Yeah, like
There's just a lot of too much unexplained shit happening.
Right.
All that stuff though, I think is just.
they could definitely be out there around stars around there. But to say like yes, they're definitely here in our atmosphere, I think I'm not too sure about. I possibly I think I would love to be like for it to happen and be like,
Who's to say
yes.
they're smarter than us?
Yeah, like they might not be. Or if they're getting to our planet, they're probably smarter. Like,
That's there. Yeah, they might just have better technology though.
yeah, they might be like stupid, but somehow smart enough to get here, and it's just a weird combination.
Yeah. Or they could be fucking another thing that I always play with is like they're just time travelers.
It's possibly as well. Yeah.
That
Like,
I don't know how.
There's a scientific way that we've like kind of figured it out. Like, how would it be possible? And that's like you got like fold space on itself, and then like you got to go like to create a bridge and then go back over the fold, and then you can go back in time. Like there's
an excellent
theories about
podcast that I think it's Eric Weinstein.
I haven't seen it. No.
Eric Weinstein was just on Joe Rogan. He's he's some sort of scientist, but he's a legitimate genius. That'd be a good podcast for you to watch and then break it down for me because I could not follow it along. He's just too smart. But he was explaining like how it would work, and he was talking about as soon as he started talking about relativity, I was like, nah. I just don't understand.
He's a physicist, probably.
He's a physicist,
okay,
yeah. But he's
some of that stuff I don't completely follow either because I've tried watching videos on YouTube to help explain like theory of relativity and like a bunch of it goes over my head still as well, because I'm just a loaded coder. So like these people have studied for years to grasp these grasp these theories.
It's a totally different field.
Yeah, you got to study it and like think about it for a long time to properly have it click to you, I think.
But continuing with the NASA competition, so you got your desk at Adelaide University for 6 months.
Yeah, so I got a desk there, and originally it was going to be like a team of 10 of us. So like my mate and I, we basically selected a few of our mates who we know were like coding guns, and we were like, let's get these guys together. And the team ended up blowing up, and they had to put like an ad out, and we ended up with like 40 undergrads under us. So we were like trying to manage these kids, and it was definitely more of a waste of time, I think, because we found ourselves managing too much and less programming. But essentially, it's got a simulation, and you get 6 rovers. So there's 3 different types of rovers that NASA gave us in this simulation, and one of them had the ability to detect the resources on the ground. So when it was close to a resource, like it would get notified. There was another rover that could dig the resources up, and it was the only one that could. And then another one that had a bin that could get them back, and it was the only one that could get them back as well.
Oh, they gave you classes.
Yeah, so it was like and the real challenge was that they didn't give us information about where we are in the map, right? Because it was like a big round map, and they didn't say like, oh, you're at coordinate 1010 or 62 or something, right? You didn't know where you were, because they were trying to mimic what it would actually be like if we just dumped like 6 rovers on Mars and like go mine, right? They don't know where they are, and if they drive and turn right, turn left, turn right, they don't know, are they at a certain new coordinate now? Because for robots to know where they are. So do you understand what I mean by like coordinates, like where you are
on the landscape of the moon?
Yeah,
just so you can suss out the terrain and all that, so you can see what is more beneficial, like what rover is more beneficial to use, kind of thing.
Or not even that. It's more like if you know where your base is, right? Because the rovers might have this base they come back to,
yes,
where they're going charge or something, right? You how do you know where that is? It's at coordinate 200, 300, lat long coordinate, essentially lat long coordinate. It has to figure out where where it is on the planet, right? And when it drives away, it doesn't have this magical machine that just knows what its new coordinate is as it moves, right? So these robots, there's always there's big areas of studies of research and engineering that goes into solving this problem. So a classic one is just track how much the wheels have moved, and if you've moved that much and then you turn, then you can kind of calculate where you are. But there's problems with that. Is what happens if the wheels slip on the mud? Now you think you're further ahead than you are because
of the slippage.
And then so then there's all these technologies and sciences.
Christ, there's so much to think about.
And we had to solve those problems in this
How many
simulation.
teams were there?
Before in the qualifiers there was 120 or something, but only 22 got through the qualifiers. So when I came on board, it was 22 teams in total, and we were the only Australian team as well. Yes, we were
shit,
representing the country.
That's crazy.
And I think most of them were, a large chunk of them were not universities, so robot companies or
specialists
that already knew this stuff.
And
so
you came third.
We came third. Yeah, so we were the highest ranking university out of all the universities that were there. Yeah.
So you just won that. If you won that little minor competition.
That wasn't announced, we just figured that out. I'm yes, we're the best university.
I looked at it because obviously when we were doing the podcast, the first thing that came to my mind was, I've got to chat GPT you. We were talking about it before. I was let's see if I can find anything out and just have it handed to me on a platter. I was all right. It was really fun. And then it wouldn't tell me.
It didn't know who I was.
No, because it needed more information about you, and I was fuck. But then I was asking it about the space industry in South Australia and how it was was it good in comparison to the rest of the world? And apparently South Australia's space programs and engineering programs are fucking insane.
Yeah, we have putting a lot of energy into creating good groups. But I think the thing to think about is, or just to consider, is they're still in their infancy.
Yeah.
So they're all being created. They're all working on their first projects. Like, we're yet to launch a rocket and put a satellite up in orbit. Right? But if you consider like comparing the rest of Australia, yes, our group is the ones who are like, we're spearheading.
You don't hear about it though, do you?
It's not spoken about much yet. I think that's because they're yet to have their first win. And I think when we do something pretty cool and get something to orbit, or like our rovers out on the moon, it was developed in-house in SA. That's when everyone's going to be like, oh shit, SA, we're the space state, I guess, of Australia. But
I did see fucking sometimes I'll catch that Starlink when it goes over.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen it yet?
I've never even thought about looking up for Starlink.
It's so
cool. It does come here, right?
Yeah, every now and then. I think the last one was maybe like 2 months ago.
And you can see it with with your eyes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I use my phone because I'm like recording it. My phone zooms in heaps, but you can see it.
And you is there a website and you can see when it's coming?
Yeah. So you go on the website. I can't remember the website, but one of my friends posted it. He posted that Starlink will be coming in like 2 hours. He's a geek, and I was like, oh, that's dope. Right. So yeah, I think there's a website you can go on and it tells you when it's passing over your area.
Didn't know that. Yeah. I'll definitely have a look.
Starlink's just for internet access.
I believe it's just for internet access. Who knows what's happening on else?
Yeah, that's the thing. He's a fucking alien.
Yeah, he's hyper focused.
Would you ever work for like a?
I wouldn't work for him. I wouldn't work for him. He grinds everyone
morally
to the bones.
Oh, really?
He grinds everyone to the bones. It's why so much gets done, because he's just like.
Is that him being a prick, or is that just him having just too high a standard of people?
He knows where the company needs to get to, and he knows everyone needs to be working at a certain pace. So it's like he doesn't have like.
For anyone who doesn't know who we're talking about, we're talking about Elon Musk.
Elon Musk, yeah.
Would you say one of the smartest brains in the world right now?
Define smart.
Driven,
yeah.
Because he just keeps fucking acquiring companies like Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
It's just...
Well, I think like the acquiring of the companies, you have to be, you don't have to be as driven for that once you've got the money.
How the fuck does he have time to even think about owning Twitter?
Yeah, it's craziness. It's crazy.
It's the worst social media.
He wants to solve every problem. Well, in America, it's one of the biggest. Like, everyone uses Twitter over there. Like,
I tried to have Twitter here, like, because I like to follow UFC.
Yep.
And it's the best for like watching people actually interact, like fighters interact with fighters and stuff. And it's just
a public chat, I guess. You can see other people talking, and nowhere else you can see that.
But it's just such a fucking miserable place.
Yeah,
it's so bad. It's so like
I haven't used it too much to know.
It's so aggressive.
Yeah, that's Wait, is that people commenting or people's actual posts?
Like, it's just like the outrage on there. Like, something will happen, and then it's like a trending hashtag, and everyone will just fucking jump on board and just attack people.
Right.
Like, it's insane how hectic it gets on there.
I guess
on both sides, left, right, everything.
Especially when it's like when there's some sort of like some sort of political lean, like
it's obviously
in the messages.
Obviously, it used to I don't know. It used to be like very heavily left, to the point where there was that there's that trial that's gone on now with the ex-owners or ex-something of... Have you seen that clip where the judge is talking to the female? I believe she's an Indian lady.
You mean like ex-CEOs or
CEOs,
ex-board members?
Or board members. She's a woman, and she's pretty young, and I'm pretty sure she was a CEO. Mm-hmm. And they're getting trialled at the moment for... When COVID happened, they were censoring doctors, saying that, it's... Like, everyone, don't fret. Like, if you said anything other than stay home...
This is dangerous.
They immediately banned you.
Right.
So they're getting trialled for that now.
Okay.
And the judge was going mental at her. And she just didn't have anything... She's like, are you a health expert? Then why do you feel like you are able to censor health experts?
Right.
Like, it's crazy what was going on Twitter.
It is a little bit of a power trip, and I think that is the main reason Elon did buy Twitter, because he's
fucking let the floodgates go. You're allowed to do anything you want on there now.
But like the fact that like there was this entity that was restricting people, there's there's a lot of reasons why or you wouldn't do it. Like some people's messages are a bit out there, so like, if someone is literally like inciting murder, sure, like
fuck yeah, ban them straight away.
I get ban them, but like, so obviously like Twitter knew that and they knew they had to ban them, but maybe their head just got a bit too big and they a bit too much of an ego power trip, and I think Elon he mainly saw that. And
my first Twitter account got banned.
Really?
Yeah.
What were you doing?
I called someone a cunt.
Well, cunt's a very, very bad word in America.
Well, fuck.
And it is, if you said it here, you can...
I said it to an Australian. Actually, I don't know if they're Australian, but they fucking reported me and I got banned because I called them a cunt. But they were being a cunt. They were like attacking someone on this post, and I was like, just stop being a cunt. And I just got banned immediately.
Swearing.
Yeah.
You're banned for swearing.
For swearing. For fucking swearing. It's crazy. It's so weird seeing you. Like, you're so smart, but like you're covered in tattoos. Like, you wouldn't expect, like, you just look like a normal dude.
One down there as well, yeah.
No shit. Is that a cake?
No, this is actually a stylized Minecraft grass block.
That's fucking hilarious.
You can see that.
Have you been watching all of the Minecraft speedruns and shit now? Minecraft's huge now.
I've actually stopped computer games. So
for like productivity.
I failed year 12 because of them. So I connect a lot of my failures in life.
It's like heroin to you.
Yeah, like I get super addicted to computer games, and I just kind of realize like if I want the life I want, I've got to get rid of them.
What's the last one you played?
Like every now and then I'll play like online Settlers of Catan or chess or something. But like in terms of like computer game, what was the last one? Like Overwatch, I was playing a little bit.
So you haven't played The Last of Us?
Like I've sat next to mates and at their house, we'll get beers and sit there, sit next to them for a few hours, or
you watch like a playthrough or something like that.
Yeah, or like or like I'll grab his controller and join him. But I try and use it as like it's an outing thing. You know what I mean? I think just getting it out of my house. Like you said before, I have a bit of an addictive personality, and I would rather all of that addiction just going towards like my success.
But now that you say that, I stopped because I used to smoke like weed heaps heavily. Mm-hmm. Not heaps heavily. That was probably like one of the better drugs I've fucking done in my life. But I used to smoke a fair bit of weed. But I used to use it as like, I deserve it because I've worked heaps hard this week. So on my days off, I would have a routine where I'd go train, I'd come home, I'd smoke some weed, and then I would get in front of the PlayStation or something, and I would just be like, I deserve this. But I would get nothing done all day. And you get into that.
And what time is this? Like 3 o'clock or like 6 o'clock?
No, so I'd wake up in the morning every Tuesday. It used to be Tuesdays. I used to wake up every Tuesday before I had the podcast. I'd wake up every Tuesday, go train at 7:30 a.m. Mm-hmm. I'd finish at like 8:30. I'd do another couple errands in the morning. Then I'd get home at like 11. And then I would get delicious food, delicious sliced pork. That was so embarrassing. That was so embarrassing. We'll tell that story after. But well, my missus is still laughing about that. It's so annoying. So I'd do that, and then I'd like get high, and then I'd just lounge all day and watch like TV or YouTube or play games, and it's like, fuck, you get nothing done.
Yeah. That just sounds exactly like what my game life was. But I think it's worse when you add weed on top of that. It's because
I got a prescription for it too.
Sucked in, like
I got a prescription.
Yeah. So you said you used to be like going really, really hard on the weed, but you've stopped now? Or?
Not even hard. I just used to... I'm not a functional stoner. Like, you get people that can smoke weed and then go do things. I just get stoned and then that's me.
Yeah.
I'm on the couch.
Yeah. You gotta... I think that's it's one of the... trading pleasure for investment. It's the hardest thing ever, right? Because investment, you get nothing out of it, right? You're working towards something, and you might be, need to be working towards it for 6 months or a year, and it's just so hard to do that. I think that's what I've noticed with a lot of people is I think like it's probably like my unhealthy like work ethic, but like a common phrase I say is productivity is learning to say no.
Well,
like,
it's funny
to
you
people
say,
or to yourself. It's just like saying no to fun things in life.
it's funny you say that, because there's this bloke I used to go to school with him. He's going to be coming on the podcast when he's down in South Australia next. He's his name's Newbury. His last name's Newbury. James Newbury. He's one of the fittest people in Australia. He's like a CrossFitter. He's got a big following. He's done very well for himself, but he's fucking shredded all year round. He just lives a healthy lifestyle. And he had this short up on Instagram the other day, and he was saying, like you said before, there was like 2 years where I didn't see my friends because I didn't want to. Mm-hmm. Because
he was focused,
like he was just so focused on the goal at hand. Yeah. And I'm getting the phrase of what it's, but the whole basis of the video was like, if people, like, he was fine with people like not being happy with him because he was just so focused on his goal. And the outcome of the goal.
I was the same, yeah. It was.
But the best people,
it's not healthy.
The best people in the world in every field are like that.
Yeah, yeah.
In every single field, there's like outliers, and those people all have the exact same attributes.
It's like damaging attribute where you hurt people around you.
Yeah, but in the long run,
yeah, you get a lot done, right?
You get a lot done, and then you won't have to work at 45, 50, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm 31 now, and I'm going to do a PhD after this, so it's
more study.
More study, yeah. But like, I've got to do it though. I really, I want to try and climb the top of this mountain of like being an AI researcher and really, really do amazing things. Like, I've been working in this field called reinforcement learning at the moment. I think I mentioned it in that message.
I wanted to talk. That was that with Go and chess. I watched a documentary on that a couple years ago, a year ago.
AlphaGo, was it called?
It's big in China, is it, or Korea?
Korea.
It's big in Korea. It's like one of the biggest games in Korea. It's not chess, but it's like a board game.
It's like little stones of black and white stones.
Almost checkers.
Kind of like checkers, and you got to like surround each other's territories.
I don't know the logistics of the game, but there's a YouTube video, a little documentary, I believe it goes for like 40 minutes or an hour, about that. I'm pretty sure it was the AI you're talking about, how they taught it to beat their best,
like the world champion,
the Go player within a year or whatever it was. Like, this AI learnt how to play the game. It's fucking insane.
Yeah, it's crazy, and that documentary was one of the reasons. Like, there's a few reasons why I decided no software engineering and I wanted AI. One thing was the robot arm that I mentioned, but the other thing was like all those things, like that documentary, learning. I imagine myself, I'm like, what's the coolest thing I could ever imagine in terms of this pathway of AI research, and being on a team where you create an AI that you eventually get it to be superhuman and it can beat someone at some sort of profession.
And it's also your wheelhouse. At the end of the day, you obviously enjoy video games at some level, so it's obviously your wheelhouse. But they would not be happy, those world champions. They would not be happy.
Yeah, it does cause a lot of controversy, and it's one of those things. Like do you develop AI? Do you not develop AI because some people are going to be unhappy?
No, fuck them. You have to do it.
We need to progress,
You have to do it.
Yeah.
But what's the difference? So one thing that I don't understand is, what's the difference between, say, that AI that bet the world champion Go or at chess, and Dota? You did Dota 2, which was fucking pretty cool. They're doing Dota as well.
Yeah. So all those things, by the way, I haven't worked on.
You're just researching.
That's the area of my research.
Yeah.
So I'm not on those games. I'm on a different game, but the same type of learning that those AI did, I'm doing.
Yeah,
as well.
That's so cool.
So
you can't take the AI that they've used and put it towards any other game. That AI is specifically focused on playing Go, and that AI is specifically focused on playing Dota.
Yeah, so that's actually a part of cutting edge research at the moment to try and the answer is yes. We can't get a model at the moment, and we call this we call all AI at the moment, apart from ChatGPT, narrow AI. So every neural network that exists is called narrow AI.
Could ChatGPT play a game?
ChatGPT couldn't play a game, but other iterations of the same technology could learn to play multiple games.
That's the thing. The things that are going to stem from ChatGPT might be pretty cool.
Yeah. There's like ChatGPT it's the beginning of the new era of artificial intelligence, and it's like what's going to come from that. It's hard to know.
Before we go there, I just had one more question about that Go stuff.
Oh, the Go stuff, yeah.
So what's the difference between all of that and just a normal aimbot that you can apply on a first-person shooter?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because a first-person shooter, you can obviously get a computer-generated player to play in any game in a custom match, and I'm sure it would be relatively easy just to give them an aimbot. Mm-hmm. What's the difference between that and then actually teaching an AI to be playing the game?
Right, yeah. So with an aimbot, like it's you would have access to like the world map, and you would know where the enemy is, like, and
just cheating.
It's you can cheat, right? Because you know exactly where they are, and then the robot, you know, with the aimbot, perfectly, you know, moves in a certain direction. Because they've calculated it, because they know exactly where they are, because they have, you know, access like to the world, and like that's how they find their head. So like imagine, like, how do you get the AI to do it when you don't give it access to the world, right? And that's more what these AI are doing. So you when I say access to the world, so aimbots are like a different one, because aimbots can kind of beat anyone, right? You can get an AI that's walking around with an aimbot and it will just like slaughter everybody, right? Mm-hmm. But maybe let's not talk about first-person shooters because of aimbots, right? If we consider just like
MMORPG games where it's more skill, like
Dota and League of Legends and stuff, where there's no aiming, right? You being able to accurately click means nothing, right? It's purely about teamwork. It's about like
strategy,
you know, like, and it's those things that like you can't, you know, do maths and solve that, and that's why it's hard, because with an aimbot you can just do the maths and solve it right then and there, and we've known how to do that forever, right? But we can't just put in an equation and just be like, you know, perfectly have teamwork. Like there's no equation that like solves that. So what they did with Dota was it's 5 individual AI, and they don't communicate to each other behind, like their brains don't have access to each other, right? So it's essentially 5 different people because they're separated, right? And so they're not looking at the screen like the way we are. So like we see the screen through the pixels and through the colors and the graphics of the stuff. They had like direct access to, like, you know, I'm at this coordinate, and here is everyone else I can see on the screen, and they're at these coordinates, and you know, this person has this much health, and it would have direct access to that as a number, right? So it sees the world as like a list of numbers of like, where am I, where's everyone around me, and so it doesn't see as graphics. It has kind of a cheaty way of seeing the world, but it's still, you know, even if you give an AI that, it's the problem still stands. How do you get this AI to beat the world's best Dota team in the world? And so this is the area of reinforcement that I'm working on. And so what you do is you get an AI and you put it in an environment, like a computer game environment or chess game, and you duplicate the AI and you make it play with a copy of itself. And what you do is you just get them to play a game and then see who wins the game, right? And let's say, so there's me and my copy. So I'm the AI, I'm learning, there's me and my copy. We play a game, and one of us is going to win, one of us is going to lose. Let's say we're playing chess. It's probably the easiest way to understand reinforcement learning. That's what this area of research is called. It's called reinforcement learning. So we play a game. I won, they lost, right? And we're copies of each other, but only one of us is going to win and lose, right? We could draw, but like, you know, usually one of us is going to win and lose. So let's say I won. Then what I can do is I can go back through all the decisions that I made along the chess game. There was 40 moves of the game. I go back through each of those moves and said, like, all right, all these things you did weren't they were pretty good. Do that again if you're in that situation again. Whatever you did, do that again. And for the partner, it would go back through, and because we have access to the same brain, it would go back through and change this like kind of communal brain we have and say, if you're in any of these states, don't do that because it lost, obviously. So now the brain's new, and then we literally play another game with this new updated brain, and we do it again and again and millions and billions of times, right? And the thing is the reason why they can get as good or better than humans is because we don't show them how to play, right? We don't tell them anything. It has no idea how to play Dota. When it first starts, it's got no idea, and all it knows is what will make a win and what will make a loss, right? So obviously it will slowly learn, I should probably walk in that direction to start off with, or like it learns little bits at a time.
Is it weird when you're watching like these things kind of figured it out? It's almost like watching a child like starting to like crawl and then
it's crazy. It's so similar.
Run.
It makes much sense as well. Like, of course it's going to learn that and then that, and
it does it in order that it should be doing it.
Yeah, like it can't figure that out because it can't even get there first, so it has to learn to walk first, and there's like an order, and there's this really, really good a YouTube video. It's called Hide and Seek, where they got these two AI, and they need to hide from the red AI. So the blue's hiding, red's seeking, and maybe pull it up. Just type hide and seek AI. The second one, yeah.
That one there?
Yeah, that one there. Same group as one who did Dota and ChatGPT.
This brand logo that was done.
So maybe it's like skips like some part in the middle. So what happens is these blue guys here, if you can just play it along. They have the ability to run around. So basically, there's like a 10-second window where they can go and do whatever they want, right? And initially, they'll just hide in the corner, and that would be fine. But then the red AI would come in there and find them, right?
Yeah, right. So it's a legit game of hide and seek.
It's literally hide and seek. And then over the course of learning, this research group, they showed that these AI learn to pick up the boxes and block the doorways, right? So as you can see right now, so now they're blocking the doorways.
No shit.
And that was over time of learning, but it took them like millions of games to figure this out, right? And then the red lost so much that they randomly were trying things, and they randomly figured out that if they walk up to this ramp over here, which we'll see in a second, they can grab that ramp and pull it in and use that to jump over the fence and find them. And so like it's basically like one's winning a lot, then the other wins a lot, and they basically
no shit. Because I was going to ask you, has anyone with that Go thing, have they put two of the same AIs against each other and seen how it played out? Because would that game just go forever?
No. So with Go, it eventually like ends, but like. And sometimes black wins, sometimes white wins, but the moves that they're doing are just so insane, and they're beyond our comprehension, and and they've actually changed the game quite a lot.
Oh, there you go. They're fucking getting
Yeah. So
now they're stealing the ramp.
So then Blue learned that they can grab the ramp and put it back in. And this is the perfect example of understanding.
That's fucking wild. What the hell? What's that called? If anyone wants to watch the full video, it's called Hide and Seek AI.
Yeah.
And so these are the same people that did the Go experiment.
No, that was DeepMind. There's two major groups. There's DeepMind, and then there's OpenAI.
Yeah, OpenAI. Don't they do ChatGPT?
They do ChatGPT. They did the Dota bot, and they beat the world's best team at Dota, and they did this hide and seek. They've done tons of other stuff, but they're three kind of notable examples. And I found myself watching hours and hours of these videos. I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like, and I knew I've got the background. Like, I know how to code. I'm like, I could be someone who could make this. I'm like, and that idea kind of it sparked in my head, like a new skill cape, a new RuneScape skill cape. I'm like, that sounds pretty cool.
And you're currently researching to do this on a game of your choice?
Yeah. So
can you say what game?
Yeah. So there's no NDA or anything. It's just research. I'm not with a company or anything. It's just my own personal research. So I'm currently working on this card game called Hanabi. So you've played Solitaire before?
Yeah.
Yep. So it's like team Solitaire. So we have our cards in our hand, and we're trying to build these stacks of cards in the middle of the table.
So that's a pretty complex game.
It's not that complex at all. It's quite simple. So there's a catch to it, right? So you can't see your cards, but you can see all your teammates' cards. So if you try and play a card onto one of the solitaire stacks in the middle of the table, and that card is the wrong card to play, your whole team loses a life, and if all of you lose 3 lives, the whole game's over and you get 0 points.
And how many people in a team?
2 to 5. It's like a variable number of people, and the game is very different depending on how many people are there, because you can see more cards and they change things, right? So what you can do is you can give pieces of information to your teammates. So but there's a catch there, because there's a limited amount of information that can be given. There's like tokens that get spent every time you give information, but also, when you give information, I can't just be like, oh, this one here, it's playable right now. Like, you can't just say anything you want. There's like rules about what you can do. So what I can do is I can say to you, oh, these are 3s. These 2 are 3s here. Or I can say, oh, these ones are hearts or something, right? Yeah. And basically, you're limited in what you can say, and you basically need to try and give each other information about the cards so you can collectively play all the cards in the middle of the table, right?
Yeah.
That's what the game is. So the catch with this game, and why it's cutting edge research at the moment, even though it's very, very simple compared to these things, the catch with this game is that it's impossible to get a perfect score unless you and your teammates pre-agree upon some strategies beforehand. So an example are like, when I discard cards, it's always going to be my oldest card, right? That isn't a rule of the game, but you can like pre-agree.
You can pre-organize it.
Pre-organize, right? But then another group, next door might be playing the game too, and they might pre-organize like, oh, the newest card is the one I'm going to discard, or some other rule, right? And then everyone knows it, and everyone can like take advantage of that. So it's the same thing as like driving on what side of the road. Australians and people in England, we all drive on the left, but like, it didn't matter which side we drove on. We just randomly chose the left. When the rules were made. Same with Europe and America, they just chose the right. But if you got a robot and you got it to learn how to drive on Australian roads, it would learn that the left-hand side of the road is what you drive on.
Yeah.
But in America, you do the same thing. It would learn the right-hand side is what you drive on. And if you got those robots, 1,000 of one and 1,000 of the other, and put them on the Adelaide streets, right? They're going to be crashing because and there's no
That's
other humans.
all they know.
And they're all going to be like they don't know to go on the other side. They have never experienced that before. Same thing in this card game, right? Because you and your teammates pre-agree on some strategies, and you can play with other people or other teammates that are using other pre-agreed strategies that are incompatible and are going to cause you to like do something stupid and lose the game. So the area of research I have is like, how do you get an AI to learn to play this game and pick it up and put it in another team and still be able to perform well? And if this is a largely unsolved problem. We don't know how to do this. All AI you've seen, like they know who they're playing with. The OpenAI that can play Dota, they actually trained with their teammates, so they know exactly what they're going to do, and they've got this strategies already learned. They've played millions or billions of games together already. They already know each other. But what happens if you got like another group of 5 and you picked up 2 of them and you got them to play together? They wouldn't work well at all, because one of them would have decided upon some strategies that wouldn't really work with the other one, and there's no way to like make them play the same strategy. So that's what I'm currently trying to work on and figure out.
Shit, fucking.
Yeah. And I think I've largely solved a portion of the problem. But yeah, that's my current area of master's research. Yeah, so I'll be finished in August. And I'll be applying for PhDs like around October. So
no shit.
Yeah, that's
fucking crazy.
That's where I'm at the moment.
It's a crazy way to make a living.
Well, because the goal for me is I want to be at OpenAI or DeepMind. So
That's the cape.
that's the cape that I'm trying to get to.
That's the
Yeah.
cape.
And
Where's OpenAI based?
they're in San Francisco. And DeepMind has like offices everywhere else. So yeah, like the people that did the documentary of AlphaGo, they're DeepMind. They're based in London, but they have offices like New York and Canada. And
Has there been anything that you've seen, because you know more than anyone, that is like, oh, that's a bit like scary almost? Like, because everyone has real like prejudice, not prejudice. I don't even know the word. Yeah, fear. Like, I have a fear of it, but is it warranted?
This is a
In a non-biased,
this is a topic that comes up so often, and so to answer your first question, it's definitely warranted. However, it's warranted, but for a bunch of reasons, I actually don't believe there is a crazy threat. So,
well, we would have to get it to the point of like it. We would have to develop it to the point of where it becomes scary.
we would, but like whether it's inevitable that it will kill us all, I don't think that's true.
Oh, I'm not even thinking that.
Right.
But it definitely can sway things, and
definitely it can definitely have a lot of like.
It could kill us all.
It could.
It could.
I think there's something that's really. I've got this like way of thinking about it, and so when you look back at all of the biggest technology developments, you know, that's always led to crazy good things, but it's also led to crazy bad things. The knife was invented, and so many people were killed by the sword, right? It was just humans around the planet were just, yeah, thanks, man. Humans around the planet were just, killed everywhere. However, we wouldn't, have the scalpel if it weren't for that, right? We wouldn't be able to perform surgeries without the sword. And there's a bunch of like other developments, but then it goes all the way to like nuclear research. That led to the nuclear bomb that killed a lot of people. And but that research could be the area of research, like us knowing how to do that is probably the stepping stone that could get us to nuclear fusion. Have you heard of nuclear fusion before? So the nuclear bomb is when you get an atom and you break it apart, and that just causes so much it basically causes a chain reaction, and which causes the bomb explosion, right? But nuclear fusion is when you kind of like squeeze two atoms together and make them fuse together, and that's what causes the sun to radiate
heat.
And, basically everything, all the energy coming off the sun is because there's so much gravity, and it just pushes all of its like mass together, and it causes all its atoms to like mush together and create new atoms by like fusing atoms, right? And that actually, and the thing is, like, we can just like fuse like water together, right? And it's like free, or hydrogen, or like there's certain minerals we can fuse together that's like not dangerous, right? And the idea of it is like it's essentially free energy. It's not completely free because you got to use the water to do it. But 1 cup of water can last like years or something. It's like some crazy amount.
No shit.
Yeah, and the amount of energy it actually releases, like mathematically, because the physicists have proven that it should and will work mathematically. But it just takes a lot of engineering to get it to be stable. And we've recently, because the main problem with it is we have these massive machines over in Europe and China and America, these massive warehouses where they're doing the fusion. And the problem is it's costing a lot of energy to get them to fuse. And currently, for a long time, we weren't able to get more energy out of it than we were spending to make them squish together in the first place. And recently we have done that. So we are looking at a future where there's no coal, there's no nuclear fusion, there's no wind energy, or eventually one day.
So with that cobalt and.
I'm not sure about cobalt. I haven't heard of that before.
Wait, fuck. Well, no, what's the material that they used to make the batteries for Teslas? Isn't it cobalt?
Lithium.
Lithium ion. Isn't the obtaining lithium though just as bad for the environment or is that just a wives' tale?
I think it is.
Because I've seen-
I don't personally know much research.
One of my friends, we were doing a podcast. I can't remember who it was with. Oh, my friend Zach. It never got released because the audio stuffed up. But he was telling me about it, and then we pulled it up on YouTube. The actual, the what do they call them? They look like fucking slave camps. The mines.
Are they like in Africa and stuff?
Yeah, dude. Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
It is disgusting. But it's crazy because you see a test, it's like, oh, it's green energy. It's like, it's cool. But then you look at that and it's like, oh, fuck. It's insane. Like, how much mining and like, there's like 10,000 people in a little hole trying to dig. It's insane.
Yeah. A mate of mine was telling me apparently Joe Rogan had this guest that was speaking about it, and they don't have oxygen down there, and they're like little boys that need like climb down these shafts, and they don't have any pumps to so they can breathe. So they have these like tubes that that they've put down this shaft, and there's like a cloth tube that's like been held with rings, right? And they're just holding it there. And if anything goes wrong with this thing, like this person's going to suffocate down there.
Jesus.
And people die, and like all these kids are dying down there, and it's essentially slave labor. And these people, these kids get like the minerals, and then they go to the markets and try to sell it, and the traders are just ripping them off, and it's like that's the life they're living. And yeah, so I definitely think
It's a fucking real slippery slope when you start getting into like morally what's good and then what's better for the environment, because it's such a fine line. It's like, do you want the earth to last longer, or do you want to treat people like fucking pigs?
I know, and it's kind of like, obviously we all wish there was a way we can have both, but
that's like you said, with everything there's pros and cons with every single thing in life, which is it's so weird how life has just made itself to be like that. With every pro there's always a con. Nothing's ever like perfect.
People are greedy, and then that causes them to want more money, and that means someone's got to
even in the animal kingdom, if like in the animal like kingdom, and like if you go into the wild, into the Amazon, it's not like a nice place.
Yeah.
Like those animals are fucking fighting tooth and nail every day. Like it's a brutal like little thing they got going on, especially in the animal kingdom. It's like there's always pros and cons to everything. Everyone likes to see everything as like Disneyfied. Like just everything.
Like the Lion King, where everyone's just chilling and
dude, everyone's chilling and hanging out. There's like a fucking lion hanging out with a hippo just singing.
Yeah, no, I
but so you reckon that the fear is warranted for AI?
For AI, yeah. So okay. So the story I was trying to tell was there was the knives, and then there's the nuclear bombs. Did cause a lot of deaths, but it also could be the result of us having essentially unlimited energy, which could solve a lot of other problems in our life. So when the Cold War was happening, and America and Russia were building thousands of nuclear bombs, and everyone was pretty damn certain we're all going to die because of nuclear bombs, right? Now like what it took the whole planet to like sign all these deals, so all the countries would just chill the fuck back. And people's fears, obviously people still have fears about about the world, or about human extinction due to nuclear bombs, but it's definitely less now because we've kind of got a handle on it in a way, right? America and Russia aren't building nukes anymore. It's like banned, and everyone's somehow agreed, right? And like the same thing I see with AI. So for sure, AI going crazy is, there's going to be deaths, right? It's with every new technology.
But with going crazy, doesn't that bring that it would need to be a bit sentient? If we look at, that's another fucking topic.
That's that's a different topic of what does sentient mean? Like, is that?
Yeah, but that's just that's getting into it heaps. Like, what's this? What's consciousness?
Yeah,
like,
what does that mean?
It's so hard. Like, when it can think for itself, but it already can do that.
Yeah. So I think so with AI. So like, you know, there are some things obviously that it's going to be like I can get into like some of the crazy future things that are going to happen because of AI. But maybe like we'll talk about some of the bad things. Obviously, you know, AI being robots and then being in war and then killing people, or you know, who knows what's going to happen. But AI has the potential to do a lot of damage. But
I told you the sirens would happen.
yeah, the sirens. Yeah, you did. I can hear them now. So with these AI, as we've seen with like the past, people get paranoid about everyone dying because of nukes, and you know it causes a lot of ruckus. And you know we have seen humans get a hold of such, you know, existential crises like nuclear bombs. And with AI, it's kind of worse. People are way more scared of AI than they are of, you know, than they were of nuclear bombs. Everyone's convinced that we're all fucked, right? And we can already see it with ChatGPT. So this was one of the main reasons why Elon Musk helped start OpenAI, or I think he bought in after that, like they were already starting. But
he bought into OpenAI as well.
Yeah, he was the one that funded the Dota bot, and he's been really involved. But then they started getting money from Microsoft, so they haven't been so reliant on Elon. But initially, he was funding their initial big push, and like to get really big, that was Elon Musk. Yeah,
That's who you want to get funded by.
yeah, or just like one of the big tech companies. Yeah, so he's one of the most, you know, outspoken people regarding the fear of AI, right? He is convinced that AI is going to kill us all, and one of his actions was coming in and getting OpenAI to not only develop it. So he was giving money to develop it, but he was specifically giving money to make sure that a division of the company was focused on the safety of AI and doing research into figuring out how do we make sure the AI doesn't turn into that, right? So this was a paranoia-driven action, right, by one man, and we can already see it with ChatGPT. So the first version that got released, you could say like anything to it, and it would, you know, be racist and sexist.
I heard someone built a rocket.
A rocket? What in ChatGPT?
Like in the early stages from it, like they got the information on the step-by-step process of how to build a rocket.
Right. Yeah. So like there's like just because I think there's like you know, like there would have been information of like how to build bombs or like how to do.
But
like
that's obviously not the AI's fault. That's just poor programming. Like the programming's fucking phenomenal. That's just hindsight.
But I think the reason why it could do that in the first place is the fear that we fear about. Oh, it's doing things that we didn't, you know, think it would do, right? And stuff like that is exactly this future we're scared of, right? Where we can see it doing things and we didn't think it would do that. You know, the OpenAI people didn't think it was going to teach some kid how to build a rocket or a bomb.
That fucking, you know? The issue with that is people. Yeah. Because the first thing people do is fucking dumb shit. Like if anything, AI won't be the end of the world. It'll be fucking
some human
doing something stupid to make AI in the fucking world. That's way more likely.
Something like that. But with that stuff, though, ChatGPT is the first instance of AGI. Have you heard of artificial general intelligence before?
No.
So there's like three streams of AI. So we're currently in the narrow AI world where everything can do one thing and one thing only. You can't get the GoBot to go and play Dota.
About that.
It's narrow AI. And then there's this push that OpenAI and DeepMind are going for right now. They are trying to, you know, if we want a robot to be helping our grandma do everything in life, right, it needs to not just be able to cut up carrots. It needs to be able to also cook the soup, also put her to bed, also wash that, clean the house. It needs to be general and have the skills to do everything, right? You could have a conversation with her, if she's getting quite old, like even help her with stuff. You know, it has so many different things.
I'm fucking buying that robot. If right? that robot comes, that's I'm buying it.
And we want that robot, and there is obviously benefits there, and we call that AI that can do all of that stuff and can do anything. It's called general intelligence, meaning it can generalize and do not just one thing, but many things. So ChatGPT is probably the first real step in that direction, where it's one chatbot that can talk about anything.
I was going to say that's a massive step, because if you put ChatGPT software into a Boston AI, like a robot that Boston AI made, Boston Robotics, sorry, is it?
Boston Dynamics.
Boston Dynamics.
Yeah.
If you put like that software into one of those and gave it a realistic voice and gave it prosthetics, like got a Hollywood,
or one of those Japanese robots that like look like humans. Yeah.
The sex ones.
All them.
If you got like a visual effects artist to fucking really go at it,
right? Yeah.
It would be crazy, because the cool, we were saying before, the coolest thing about ChatGPT, or the weirdest thing about ChatGPT, is how fluid it is with conversation, and you can get it to mimic things, like you were saying. Write this, but write it as if you were a 13-year-old girl, and it would say like a lot, and it would mimic it, kind of
or like a surfer dude, and then like Cowabunga man, and it knows the slang.
It just knows, like that's pretty close.
And obviously, it's not. It obviously ChatGPT can't help grandma just yet, but like it's the first step in that direction.
You could have a full-blown conversation with it, though.
Exactly. Yeah. So we call that general intelligence, and GPT is the first step towards that. But then there's this other like supernatural form, and so what ChatGPT is not really the AI that we see in those movies. Have you seen Ex Machina?
I was gonna. That's so
like
weird
with that girl, and she's so human. He falls in love with her.
Because later I was going to ask you what your favorite robot movie, or like artificial intelligence.
Pretty good.
And I was going to say Ex Machina. If no one's seen it, Ex Machina is one of the fucking craziest movies.
It's pretty wild. Yeah,
it's a wild movie.
The ending just got me. Yeah, it was really good.
It's so good.
And I think so with that one, it's beyond ChatGPT. It's something that
sentient almost.
It's completely sentient. It's smarter than us. Like it's actively got its own mission, and that is what we call artificial superintelligence. And that's what the books and the movies are still writing about, right? But what we have right now isn't necessarily that, because the way they learn. It's restricted where it can't really get to exactly that.
Is it restricted by human cause though? Is it restricted because humans restrict it? Or
it's restricted by they can only do what we show them. So that one in Ex Machina
learns openly.
It learns openly, and it went out to the world, and it would have gotten on that, spoilers, is that fine to spoil?
Yeah, spoilers are fine. It's been out for fucking 10 years now.
Yeah, so the robot gets out on the helicopter and flies away at the end, and it would be put into new areas that it's never seen before, and it says, I learned from the internet or something. I forget what it said exactly, or maybe it learned from the internet, but it would have been put in scenarios that it would never have seen during training, right, when it was learning about things, because there isn't this data set of everything and everything and anything you can ever experience. There isn't some data set with that, right? So that's what the limitation is with all AI we do, even ChatGPT. It's limited by what you show it, right? But those super intelligence, they can just be smart even when you put them in something that they've never seen before. They'll still be super smart, right? And that, that's where the limitation is, right? And if we want to get the robot that can help grandma, we've got to build a simulation that is grandma's house, and then get it to learn how to, it's stuff like that where you have to show it how to do it by making it experience it, and that's what we're limited to at the moment. So, and that's what we can do it. We could get a robot that can do it, but it's limited, and sure, it's general, so it can do many things, but it's not super intelligent where it's going to
learn on the fly,
make some dude love her so she can escape. You know what I mean? It's not going to. So that is definitely in the world of science fiction, right? It's not. It's not to say that one day we can't get there. It's it's like saying, could we ever teleport a human person? Sure, you got to scan all their technically, because we have information, right? If you could scan your entire body and you could get every single atom, right? And you manage to get a computer to scan you all and just record it all, and then you can just kill you and then just rebuild a new version of you.
No shit.
And
Then you've
teleported, right?
Using that CRISPR technology. I'm not sure if you're heaps familiar with that CRISPR stuff.
Bits and pieces. I have, yeah.
There was a lady that I believe her liver was ridden with cancer, and they cut off a piece of her healthy liver and they rebuilt it in CRISPR and gave her a transplant.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
I might be lying.
That's or they at least grew the bloody organ, which is crazy. Yeah,
I am pretty sure that is correct. One sec. It's CRISPR. I believe it's correct. Yeah, you'd have to look it up.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if it was a liver, but they definitely recreated someone's organ was ridden with fucking cancer.
Right.
And they recreated the liver or whatever part it was from a good piece of it.
That's
with
crazy.
CRISPR.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's using their using their DNA.
CRISPR is DNA altering technology. Is it? Is that what it is? This isn't your field, so if you get it wrong, it's fine.
I'm going to take guesses here. I remember watching a doco about it like a year ago, so I'm trying to remember.
It's a gene altering fucking company, I believe.
You can change your DNA structure, I think, if you do something to yourself, you can inject yourself and it actually changes the DNA maybe. I think that's what it does. I remember watching some crazy dude who was developing it and he was injecting himself, trying to make his muscles bigger and stuff, just weird stuff like that. Or someone making a glowing dog, or who was in the middle of trying to get that working, trying to get the gene that made glowworms glow.
Well, they're cloning dogs now too.
Yeah, well, they did clone a sheep a while back.
I think it's $30,000 American you can get your dog cloned.
Yeah, but the thing is though, with cloning, so the reason why I think this is different from maybe growing organs or
it's very different to what
cloning.
CRISPR's doing, because they're essentially in 10 to 15, maybe even 20 years, they're going to get rid of terminal illness.
Definitely. Or it's CRISPR, but there's
CRISPR's just the company I'm using, because that's the only company I'm familiar with. But that technology, whatever technology they're using, they are going to get rid of cancer within the next 20. Humans' life expectancies 100% will go up to over 100 years. So.
Yeah, easily over 100 years. And
what was it in the 1600s? It was probably 35,
something like that. Yeah, and the elders that managed to be old until 80, then they get these magical mystical beings.
Yeah.
When every 10 people these days gets to 90.
There's a 60-year-old and you're like, that's Jesus.
Right. It's so crazy seeing someone who's wrinkly. It never happens. But something else that I think is also going to be helping completely cure cancer. Obviously this is my area, but I think AI is going to play a massive part in this. So have you heard of protein folding? So the Alphafold?
Alphafold, no.
So same group that did AlphaGo and the Korea chess game, same group. There's been this 50-year long competition where it's this challenge, right? So in our bodies we have these strings, these chains of amino acids, right? And there's different types of amino acids, and if you get a chain of amino acids and you kind of you stretch it out and then you let go of it, depending what beads of amino acids are on that chain, it's going to fold up into a different shape, right? And all living organisms have these. They're called proteins, right? So if we want to get a virus and figure out how do we kill it, right? And we can scan it and we know what its proteins are. So we know what all of its so we know what its proteins are. We can scan it. Like, sorry for people that know this stuff. I'm just going to butcher your entire
That's all right.
field right now.
I usually just say things with confidence on this podcast, and I don't know what I'm talking about. So at least you kind of do know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So basically, like you've got these strings of amino acids, and they're really, really important because if we want to discover, like, figure out vaccines, or if we want to like figure out how do we kill this virus, or there's something, some disease in our body and we want to get rid of it, like if we understand the structure of these things, so like the way I understand it is when these amino acids fold up, they become like literally little machines that have certain like movements, and they actually become little machines that do things, and like groups of them can like join together, and as a whole they become like one big machine that have some sort of like physical function, right? And if we want to cure diseases and viruses and stuff, and find vaccines to things, and being able to like to inject someone to make some sort of tropical disease not kill you anymore, we need to understand how this thing behaves, and to understand that you need to understand what is the shape of those machines. And for forever, I think we've only ever had like 50 to 500 of these proteins mapped out. It takes a PhD student who's studying this, an entire PhD, to like figure out what does one of these string of amino acids look like. Like a whole PhD, right? And so we're struggling, it's such a slow progress of trying to figure out, like what are the proteins of all these things that we care about. And so there was this competition that's been happening, right? So over the past 50 years, it's been the massive challenge. Given a string of amino acids, what is the shape that it folds up into? And DeepMind jumped on this. It's a very like machine learning based like problem, right? So they I think before DeepMind jumped on, the best computer programs that could like predict, like given a string of amino acids, predict what shape it should be, because we know what some of the protein shapes are, and we use them as the test. So there's a way that the people who run the competition, they can get everyone's entries of all their programs, and they can test it against what they know is the truth.
Yeah, right.
And they know who's correct or who's not, or this person is 30% correct, or this person is like 20% correct. It's like, how close is that structure to the real structure? So I think before DeepMind jumped on, the best ever was like 20-30% accuracy of like given a string given any string of amino acids, what is that the shape, the machine that it folds up into. And when they jumped on board, their first try at it got to about 50% accuracy, which is a big
Christ.
But it gets crazy. It gets way crazier. I think 1 or 2 or 3 years later, I forget how long it took, they entered version 2 of Alphafold. Alphafold, it's like protein folding problems, Alphafold. So they entered version 2 of Alphafold, and it's getting like 95% or accuracy, or 92.
In the span of 3 years working on this project.
1, 2, 3 years, like after the first version.
Yeah.
It just jumped from like 50.
And people have been doing this for 50 years,
like
and only gotten up to 25 to 30%.
Or like it takes
on average.
It takes someone an entire PhD, 3, 4, 5, 6 years to try and figure out the shape of one of these things, right? And now DeepMind have this one program. They can grab the string, like grab the chain of these acids, put it into their program, and it just gives you the 3D rendering and all the shape, right? And
no wonder old people are so angry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The future's looking good.
Do you know why they're so angry? They spent fucking like 10 years trying to figure out a structure of like this protein, and then this fucking computer comes along and gets it 70% more accurately than they ever could.
Yeah,
within fucking minutes.
And it's just absolutely crazy. So already they have actually figured out the structure of every protein in the human body, which is millions or something like that, and they have publicly released it for the world, so all researchers have access to it, right? And then once they finish that, they actually have been working with different groups of researchers who have been neglected. So people don't give a shit about tropical diseases and viruses because no one gets them. No one's out there in the tropics. Everyone's in the cities, and there's certain viruses we get in the cities. So they ended up going through and mapping all the proteins of like every tropical virus that ever exists, and just gave that data set to the researchers who are trying to make vaccines and like cures for those diseases. And like, so like, it's, you know, this is only like a 5, 10, you know, 2 to 10 years of AI research. We've got hundreds of years of human life here. Like, I think, you know, stuff like CRISPR is going to be game changing, but also, you know, combined with just the power of AI that can just like, you know, map everything. Like, I personally think, you know, AI, if cancer is cured, AI is also going to play a massive part. The fact that, like, you know, AI has,
it can break you down to a fucking cellular level.
Yeah. And you know, and like, and that's just like the first step, right? So, you know, it can get one protein and figure out its shape, you know, and then there's like, you know, further and further like problems that, you know, go on. Like, what if you have this group of 30 or this group of 50? What shape does it make? Because that's the group we care about. So they're now moving on, like stepping it up and up and up and up, and eventually, you know, they're going to be able to like give, you know, get the code of a human and be like, no, oh, this is the way it's shaped, and then be like, you know, we want this change to happen. We want to create this drug. What chemicals do we need? And, you know, the AI can be like, this is the drug you need.
That's crazy.
You know what I mean? Oh, given any drug, how do you kill it? And, you know, and like these are the types of things like that I foresee happening in the future with artificial intelligence.
The thing that comes with that, though, because like you said, pros and cons, then not enough people are going to die.
Not enough people.
Yeah, and then because we already don't have the infrastructure or the fucking thing on this planet for like, what do we got? What are we at now? 7.5 billion?
Did we hit 8?
Have we hit 8?
We might have hit 8 recently.
See, but like it's not sustainable. And then once you add that, and that technology in 100 years or 50 years, if we make it, it'll get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper to where everyone's living over 100.
Yeah.
So then we're going to get to the 10 billion, 12, and then it's like, when does it max out?
This is
that's when Elon takes us to Mars.
But even then, taking to Mars, right? That we're just going to like overpopulate that place.
Would you go?
I'd be like,
if you got a job.
I wouldn't be one of the first. No, because sure, you get famous for going there, but like,
would you do like a moon
like,
trip for like $5,000, 10, or if they got it down to like 10,000 a trip?
If there's been like a pretty high chance of not dying. Like,
they've got it down. They've gotten it down.
For sure.
How much would you pay? Would you do 20?
20K, I think it's pretty...
Put a foot on there.
Oh, to put a foot on there? Probably more than 20K to get a foot
really?
on there. Yeah, I'll fucking get on the moon, man.
No shit. Well, how much... I was talking to mates the other day.
Being an astronaut, man.
How much would you pay to go to... Because I'm pretty sure it's CRISPR technology. Next year, they've successfully... bread's not the correct word, but they've successfully developed woolly mammoths.
Really?
With CRISPR.
I might have seen something with this.
I'm pretty sure it's with CRISPR technology. They took DNA from an actual woolly mammoth fossil, and I believe the closest relative to the woolly mammoth is the Indian elephant.
Right.
And they've like CRISPR'd it up.
Basically, like alter the genes. So
the genes.
It's more like the woolly mammoth. It might not be the woolly mammoth.
It's not like the woolly mammoth, but it's the exact replica.
Right.
It's an exact replica. It has the woolly mammoth DNA in it.
So they've like, you know, gotten the embryo before it's been born, because it kind of CRISPR'd it up and then allowed it to grow into...
And apparently next year, 2024, is the year that the first one's going to be born. They're going to cultivate them, they're going to grow the mass, and they're going to reintroduce them back into Antarctica.
That's so cool.
Because
they're gonna have health problems though.
I don't know if it's true, but I think one of the main reasons they were doing it is because the woolly mammoths, when they were in Antarctica, I could be fucking lying right now, so you might want to search it. But I'm pretty sure because they're so large and they're so heavy, they compact the snow really well. Mm-hmm. And when there was massive herds of them, they used to compact the snow really well, and it would alter the there would be not as much melting because it would keep it colder.
So this is like a way to like combat climate change.
Fucking look that up.
So like,
I got
woolly mammoths are how we can combat climate change.
It's an odd flex, isn't it? Wait. Woolly mammoth 2024. I swear it's a thing. Come on, don't fucking lie to me. I'm fairly sure I didn't get clickbaited.
Woolly mammoths coming back to life by
2027.
That's crazy. De-extinction.
Yeah, 2027.
That's nuts.
Sorry, guys. I lied by a couple of years. But I think maybe they're successful.
Mm-hmm.
They have been successful.
Jurassic Park's going to happen.
That's another question. That's where I was going. That's where I was going with this. So how much would you pay to get a 3-day holiday, including accommodation, to the island? Like, it was somewhere like off of Papua New Guinea or something. They just found like a little island.
I'm pretty certain I'm not going to get killed by a T-Rex.
Well, if you don't touch it or anything, like it's like a zoo. You're going to the Jurassic Park, but you're not going to die.
Okay, dude. I'd pay a bunch of money for that. Yeah.
Really? 6 digits?
Would I pay 6 digits? Depends how rich I am. If like
on your current financial thing, would you pay pay?
I'm a student right now, so I can't so I can't pay shit. I'm assuming I get a job at DeepMind, and then I'm like,
would you rustle up like 10 grand? Do you reckon you could
pay 10 grand?
Go fund me?
Definitely. Oh, if I go fund me though, I feel like I just wait until I'm working. I don't know about getting other people to pay for it.
There's big money in the AI sector, isn't there? Depending, obviously, where you go, but a lot of it's love work also too, isn't it?
A bunch of it is, yeah. I think like if you get a job at OpenAI or DeepMind, there's many things. So like I've got like, this future planned out. Like I love to have this like really far end goal, and I'm fine if the end goal doesn't happen. Like I'm fine if I just like veer off into a different direction as long as I'm moving forward still. So like currently the end goal is, I want to try and I'll apply to one of the top 10 universities, hopefully get one of them and do a PhD somewhere overseas.
America or
I'll apply for like Canada, US, and UK. So I'll apply for like top 10, 20. So in October, and then. Once I finish, like the aim is I want to try and intern at like DeepMind or OpenAI as an AI research scientist, and then try and line up a job there. But so that's kind of one avenue, and like they pay pretty well. Like they pay the same as like Google pays, and it's pretty high. Like it's more than like doctors get paid. Like it's pretty like if you get really high up in those rankings in those companies, yeah, you can get quite a lot of money. But it's not just that though. You can, if you finish a PhD, then you can work as an adjunct professor for like a big university. So you got, you have a few PhD students, and you
could also probably pay for get paid seminars and this, and you do. We didn't even touch on it.
My program, yeah.
Your fucking program.
Yeah, we can get to that in a sec. Yeah, my study program. But yeah, so there's like seminars and stuff, but there's also when you are like a DeepMind OpenAI researcher, you know how to do AI better than anyone else in the world, or most people are out in the world, and commonly people that are in that position start like their own AI company. So like a kind of a vision that I see is like I could see myself working for DeepMind or OpenAI, maybe working as an adjunct professor, having a few students, and also trying to start like my own AI company as well. Maybe I'll leave at that point, but it's a big grey area because I've got to like start and finish a PhD before that. But like there's a lot of avenues for like getting a bunch of income. And the thing is when an AI researcher like from DeepMind starts an AI company, no one knows how to do that. Like it's not like you're starting a TikTok, right? Every software engineer in the world has the ability to do that, right? But if you're like a top AI researcher and you're working on the state of the art AI and maybe some of your AI ideas, you're the best at it in the world, and you start a company doing that stuff, there's not going to be like thousands of people out there starting new companies doing what you're doing because they don't know how to do it. They had to do the PhD to get there, right? So the chance of success is like, it's just simply higher if you aim at something that simply just doesn't exist, and you are like the best at it. So that was like, these are the kind of ideas I have of like, of, how I'm going to make money in the future. But for now, I'm just investing and accepting the student scholarship at the moment, and kind of banking it all for the future, I guess.
And we totally, I almost forgot that you so you run a free, is it a course essentially, or a boot camp?
It's an intensive boot camp, but we make them self-study.
And so is it for, I'm gonna get it wrong, it's to teach people how to approach big tech companies for internships? So basically we teach people to get into Google, I do, it's all my ideas, but basically I teach people how to get software engineering jobs. So not AI jobs, just pure software engineering jobs, because I definitely mastered that when I was in my undergrad. But how to get into Google, Microsoft, or equivalent big tech companies, or even high frequency trading companies. They hire software engineers, and the interviews to get into those companies are the same to get into Google. So like, you study for one, you kind of, you get the other. So so it's gotten pretty successful at the moment. So 30% of all of Australia's Google interns of the whole country were from my program. That is fucking crazy.
It's and the reason for it is because when I was interning at Google 3 years ago, I would speak to a lot of the other interns, and I found out what did you do to study to prep to get into to pass the interviews, and I found out like most people just didn't go crazy like I did, right? I just put an insane amount of hours into just doing problems and mock interviews with friends, and just this big training regime, and it was ridiculous, right?
You're a psychopath.
I'm a psychopath, man. And basically, it wasn't that much. Sure, I invested 3 months of my time into it, right? And then I started three months, ended 3 months later, and I got the job, But it was full time. You study until you're ready. And so when I was a teacher at university, I had a bunch of students. So, about 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I had a bunch of students that found out that I'd interned at all these big companies, and I found myself having like coffee chats with a bunch of them. But I think this want to help people started probably in my undergrad. I would like have sit down chats with my peers when I was an undergrad, and I would try and teach them how to get into Google, because they would ask me, like what do I do to pass these interviews? And I found it quite frustrating because maybe it was because a lot of them saw me as their peer. So I'm telling them to bin their entire holiday and do nothing but this study, and it's hard for them to listen to me when I'm their equal. And I probably had that sit down chat with like 50 different people, and no one listened to me. No one sat down and did the work, and no one really got in. A couple of people here and there, but like essentially no one really got in. And I was quite frustrated. Like I knew if people just did what I told them to do, they'll get in, right? So when I was, I graduated a few years later, and I was teaching one of the university courses, just for some side cash, and I had some students. They found out that I had interned at these companies, and they had some coffee with me, and I started mentoring them like one each, and it became too much to handle. I had like 10 people that I was giving advice to, and I was like, all right, this is too much. So I ended up putting them into this Discord server, this big chat, and I realized, all right, the best thing to do is make a study program, and that's the best way to do this. So I put an ad out on the university. I got university lecturers to advertise for me, and within a few days, I had 50 people coming, signing up to wanting to do this program. And it's pretty ruthless. Only 30% of the people that start the program, only 30% finish the program, because I actually kick people out of the program who aren't doing the work, because I don't have any patience for people.
All right. I was going to say, does that mean I was going to say that doesn't make sense mathematically, don't worry. I was going to say, does that mean almost 100% of your students get in because you cut down to 30%?
No, I was.
Or is that 30% of that 30%?
No. So it was like 30% of all the interns who were at Google came from my program.
That's just fucking. That's such a good strike. You
It's a
must.
good strike
You must
record,
be a fucking Nazi though.
It's pretty ruthless. It's become known throughout all the computer science students in the university. So it's bigger now. So like instead of me running it, because I was like, I was kicking people out who weren't studying. So I had these like rankings.
Do you look over all their work and everything?
So I was personally doing that the first year. So the way it worked was I broke up the entire study into like 3 groups, and then I kind of gamified it because I like games. Everyone likes games, so everyone starts off grey, beginner, and then if they finish the first chunk of the study, then they get to like novice and they're green, and then if they do enough of these problems and do some mock interviews and do enough of them and do some projects, then they get promoted to blue, intermediate.
So the interview process for Google, it sounds fucking really extensive.
It's not as extensive as the study.
So obviously you're over preparing.
I'm way over preparing. So the mock interviews.
Well, it could be life changing getting an internship at Google. So.
Right. It's like a stamp of approval on the resume, and now everyone trusts you. If you want to try and get a job anywhere, and there's Google written there, there's less you got to do now to convince them, and it just helps, right? And so Google's interviews are definitely a bar below the mock interviews that I have. We get them to pair up, and they have to do 2 mock interviews a week. So they have to be the interviewer and be the interviewee and interview each other. And then I've got this marking rubric where they have to really just drill each other on how well did you confirm the question? How well did you do solve the algorithm? How well did you test it at the end? And we have this marking criteria, and they just basically critique each other. And basically they have to do 2 a week. If they don't, they get kicked out of the program. They also, there's this online website where you can practice online problems. They have to do 10 a week of them. If they don't, they get kicked out of the program. And they have to do a certain amount by a certain date. And they have to get those promotions from grey to green to blue to purple, of the finishing the chunks every month. If they don't reach those hurdles, they get kicked out of the program. So basically I know how much pace everyone needs to work at to get into Google, right? Because that's what I did. I worked that hard. I'm like, what did I do? That's the pace everyone's going to work at. Because it worked for me, it's going to work for them. So if I can drop out of year 12 and study this hard, anyone can do it, right? These guys are geniuses, getting perfect marks for their year 12. If I can do it, they can as well. So that was kind of my mentality here. And so basically, in the end, we have this community of people who've just all grinded their asses off. They're all brothers in arms, and they know each other because they've done Zoom call mock interviews with each other, and then so that was the first year, and we had 50 people starting and 20 people finished the program, right? And of that first class, 90% of them got internships, which is crazy, and they were first year university students. They weren't even really, really advanced. They had just finished introduction to programming kind of thing before they took my course, or before they took my intensive study program. So then what happened was I got 14 of those people who finished. Of that 21, I got 14 of them who finished, and I got them to be mentors because I realized this isn't sustainable. I can't be the one who manages this stuff because you asked me before, do I track them? And I was tracking everyone's spreadsheets, and I was
it's a lot.
Who's falling behind? I was interning at the time, and I was just full time, just every night, all night, I was tracking people's spreadsheets, and it was way too much work. And so I'm going to be developing a website internally to manage all this for me, so it's automatic and it's all automated of keeping track of who's doing well and who's not. So anyways, it progressed into this thing. Now I have 14 of these people who are all at Google and Atlassian and Amazon, and now they're the mentors, right? And so we get each one of them to have about 15 students each, and then they have to personally track and keep, and meet up and basically manage their 15 students and
you have started a fucking cult.
That's what people call it. Yeah, and it's named after me as well.
And this is free.
Completely free. Yeah. So
why don't you fucking charge for it?
So this is a big question that I get is why aren't you charging?
It's stupid. Just a little bit. You're it sounds hectic.
Yeah.
And now you got Death Eaters following you around. You got It's crazy.
Yeah, so why don't I charge for this program? So there's a few reasons, right? So I'll just kind of list off a few of them. So like one of them is if people are paying, right, it makes it harder for me to just kick them out, right? It makes it hard. I don't want there to be anything in the way of me booting someone out the door if they're not working, right? So that's the one thing. Second thing is I want, I'm, in this process, I'm making a name for myself in the community, right, at my university, and now across Australia, we have people from like China and America doing my program now. It's like expanding, and sure, my name might get known for this, like
when Chinese people are coming to you for fucking studying work ethic advice, that is a good sign.
We have a lot of people from China like applying
because they work fucking hard.
Yeah, and we kick a lot of them out as well because it's not working hard enough. Like
Jesus.
Where was I? I lost myself.
Don't want to kick him out because of
the money.
The money.
Yep. Also, I want to be known as a philanthropist, right? I want to be known as someone who's a giver, right? And I'm gonna have other ventures and other companies in my life. When I'm gonna have my own AI startup, I'm gonna work for DeepMind or equivalent OpenAI or something. I'm gonna work for a big company. I'm gonna make money elsewhere, right? And to have this good doer, this what do you call it? This
someone who gives back.
Yeah, like I've got this thing attached to me where I'm just giving the whole way. Is it's just good karma, right? I think it's just good karma in life, and but then there's a third reason for. There's a third reason for this is I actually do get something out of it, right? It isn't just money, right? So already the first cohort, I think I've got 5 people who are full-time Google employees now who started in my program from 3 years ago, because it's like we're on the 4th year this summer of the program, and it's only been 4 years and they're already Google employees, right? But when I say Google, they're everywhere else as well. They're all the big tech companies. There's like 20 of them out there who are all working full time now. And if I keep doing this, right, every year,
build up a massive network as well.
And they're all on the Discord, right? They don't leave, and they become the mentors, and everyone knows who they are because they get certain roles that they are employees at this company. Everyone knows where they're at, right? And fast forward 30, 40, 50 years, right? So here and there, some of these people are gonna be CEOs of like Snapchat and startup founders.
It's a massive networking opportunity.
It's a networking opportunity, and to have them all start from my program, right? I think
then we sell it.
Yeah.
Then we sell it.
It's more like I'm creating like the most exactly like Australia's most elite group, right? And
the fucking Avengers of programming,
of Australian programmers. Yeah. Like we are probably the most superpowered group of. There's one group who are our rivals in UNSW, so University of New South Wales, and they have always produced the most interns at all the universities, and it's been my mission to beat them. I want Adelaide to be like the number one, and so with the 30%, I think we are the number one now at Google. So no other group or university in the country produce more interns than Adelaide.
New South Wales.
Fuck New South Wales.
Your programming abilities are trash. Nah, but fucking, that's really impressive.
Yeah, so
that's crazy.
So that's the.
How do you have a hobby? Do you like
my hobby is all this stuff now? It's just become my hobby. Yeah, like do
you like to go out? Do you ever go out and eat or like?
This is like one of the biggest contentions in my life is like I was actually spending way too much time on my work, and I've been living with my missus for a couple of years now, and I've definitely had to pull back a bit, and have a bit of a life outside. Is she in the programming kind of? Not at all. She's a social worker. She's got like zero connection to programming and this world. She's very people oriented, and so it's she's all about relationships and like having good relationships and having quality time, and me being at work all the time is not necessarily quality time. So I've definitely had to learn that balance, because otherwise the relationship would never ever work, and I'm never going to have a relationship unless I like learn to like
Rein it in.
Yeah, rein it in a little bit. So, you know, there's a part of me that just wants to go hard still. I'm like, I just want
4 more hours. Just 4 more hours.
Like sometimes I lose myself and I'm like, oh shit, it's way too late. I should go home, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, like I was teaching myself how to play, or I was taking like chess lessons like 4 or 5 years ago. I didn't really know how to play before, and I thought, you know, a few of my mates knew how to play and I wanted to learn, so I was doing that for a while.
I was going to learn how to play chess. We were talking about that on Tuesday. I want to learn.
It's good fun. Like the best, some of the best lessons I went on is the chess.com lessons. You got to pay like $5 a month or something, but it's
not bad.
It's not expensive. I did all of them, and they were really, really good. Yeah, really good lessons. It just feels good now knowing how to play, right? And, you know, you can sit down with someone and it's fun because you know what to do now. Because the lessons teach you what to do. In this thing, this is why you do this. You know, everything you ever need, all the fundamentals, you know, like the lessons go through. Yeah. So there's that, and I guess I do like my board games. Like I play like I'm not sure if you play any board games at all.
Not in years.
Yeah.
I love card games.
Like you mean like ace, you know, like poker and stuff.
Poker or what do they call it in English? Gin Rummy?
Gin Rummy, yeah. I played a lot of Gin Rummy as a kid, yeah, with the family.
Could you teach like a computer to play poker successfully?
So yeah, funny you say that. So one of the guys I've been following heavily created a superhuman poker AI, and he actually has done something really crazy after that I can mention. It blows my mind. I'm so excited because I want to work on it. Not my problem. But this guy, yeah, he made a superhuman AI that can play, and it beat like the world's like top 4 or 5, 6 heads up. Like
because poker is weird because it's a lot about, it's not just what's on the table. It's also like when you're playing opposite someone, you get mannerisms from them and stuff. So
yeah.
it's that would be pretty like interesting if they could make an AI exceptional at poker, because it still lacks that human element where it can't see that it
can't take advantage of flaws. You mean?
You can't take advantage of your flaws, because some people will have a tell. Like say, like, I'm not a fucking expert poker player at all, but people that are good at poker, if you do like that with your eye, or like a slight twitch, or you have a slight mannerism, like you grab your shoulder, that means you're nervous because you got a good hand. Or do you know what I mean? Like
there's certain tells.
Yeah.
I think that's I think that is the next level for AI, and that's what I'm going to be focusing my PhD on. So specifically looking into more than just the table. So like all the current AIs, like chess and stuff, there's been no vision looking at the player. Like, you know, the AI hasn't looked at the human sitting across from them. The AI hasn't listened to what the human's saying, right? It's just,
and the technology's there for it. Like
you have ChatGPT.
I was going to say, no, even like the scanning, like if they could put a camera, I'm not fucking an expert, but if you put a camera there, the actual like visual,
like face recognition
technology is there.
We have the building blocks that we can get this thing
incorporate
together.
We
can get it together. Yeah. So like, so the biggest step in this direction. So I think that the first place is to start with conversation, right? So imagine playing poker and everyone's got mics on, so no one can see each other's faces, but everyone can talk, right? And then when you talk, you know who's talking. Imagine that poker, right? So that's like the stepping stone to eventually get to including video feed as well. So no one had ever done that before. So the guy his name's Noam Brown. He did his PhD in America, solved poker in his PhD. So he's this nutcase. It's so cool. And he moved and got a job at Facebook AI Research, and he has been working on this board game called Diplomacy. So in Diplomacy, it's like imagine Europe in World War I or II. I think World War I, 7 countries, so 7 players, and the way it works is person who can capture the most land wins. Like it's that kind of strategy board game. And the catch is that, you know, if you've got like if you've got a unit in your little city, and next door to you your enemy has a 1 unit as well, like 1 army, you got 1 army, and you try and attack, you can't get it because the size of your army is the same.
There's a similar game you can play online called War or Art of War.
I've heard of that before.
It's not Art of War.
No, that's the book, The Art of War. Right?
Yeah, there's a game, and it's got the world map on there, and you have a select amount of soldiers, and you can place them in. Say you start off with 4 countries. Say you have 10 soldiers, you spread them out, and then every round you attack a different. Like say someone.
Is it Risk? Is it
Risk?
Yeah, Risk.
Similar to Risk.
It's kind of like Risk, but with Risk though, you have multiple soldiers in one country. So if you have more, you can take it, and if you have more than them, then you can win, right? But in this game, it's different, right? So there's only one in each land, never more than that. So if you're going to take a land, right? So let's say, so if you've got your enemy in front of you, and you're sitting there, and you've got some other country. So you're England, they're Germany, and you've got France sitting next to you. Like the player who's playing France is sitting there as well. You can have a private conversation. So you can grab, hey France, come with me. Go in the corner and have a private conversation. That's a part of the game. It's having a private conversation.
No shit.
That's what they say the rules are. You have to have private conversations with all the countries. And you say to France, like, hey, I'm going to attack Germany. And the way it works is you can't actually, if England wants to take Germany, they need to get support from France's
surrounding
army.
countries.
And they have to like actively put down a token saying, I'm going to support you. And then everyone's token get lifted up at the same time. So like you might have a conversation with France and say, hey, France, like I'm going to attack Germany. Could you help me? Right. And then like Germany might be like, I'm going to attack England.
But no one knows who's aligned with who until they flip the token.
Until you flip the tokens.
Yeah,
so you're having
that's fucking sick.
So you're having it's called diplomacy, right? So you're having all these private, diplomatic conversations, and basically, you want to win by having teammates and working together and eventually taking over more and more land. And once you're on enough land, then you've won. So in this game, it requires communication. It requires conversation.
Yeah.
And no one had ever gotten an AI to communicate with humans using like natural language before, while they're trying to achieve a goal. So the AI is playing the strategy board game. It needs to think and it needs to plan, but it also needs to have a conversation. Yeah, it also needs to have a conversation in order to convince other players to help it out. And so they actually managed to get this AI, and they put it in a tournament with humans, and it was just having conversations and being like, "Hey, I'm going to attack this place. Do you want to come?" And it's just like, and it's
That's
just
so
and it's different to ChatGPT, and it's different in a way because it's communicating for a goal. When ChatGPT talks to you, it has no goal. Its goal is whatever you tell it. You decide what the goal is in your messages, right?
But these things almost formed a team.
Yeah, but in this thing, right, there's like 6 humans and 1 AI, and they don't know who's who, right? They can see the country names. They don't know who's playing what country, right? So any one of them could be the AI, but it's speaking with perfect grammar, and it's using all their lingo as well, because they had a training set of like human examples of speaking, so they knew, the AI knew what the slang was in the game. So it was using the slang. It's like, oh, I'm gonna, because there's like slang words of calling this type of attack, or like, hey, do you want to bounce this turn? Like bouncing is like a technique in the game, and it's like, hey, do you want to bounce this turn? And the human's like, yeah, sounds good. Like, and the AI, like, it can have these conversations to like play, and so I think that is step 1. But then there's like step after that is like actually having proper voice. So not just text, because that was just pure text, but then having live voice and having the AI respond.
Have you seen all the AI? Oh, you've probably obviously seen it. All the AI generated voices you can do now.
Yeah, where you have like where you can like get your voice
anyone's
like type, and then like it speaks the voice. Yeah, I've seen
it's fucking crazy. Some of them are like, a lot of it's still a bit rough, but you got to, if you pay for like a subscription to some of these things, it's insane. Like the deep fake shit you can do now, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, it can do anything.
I was telling Ants, I watched like a 3-minute video on Morgan Freeman talking about like just the dumbest shit ever. It's so good.
Like someone's got like a voice and he's making it speak. And
no, they deep faked him.
Oh, right.
His face, everything. It's fucking crazy. It's so weird.
Like what I can imagine is like, imagine you're playing a board game and there's an AI here. and it's just like a screen, right? And imagine like you're talking to it, right? And it's got like a little robot arm, and it's playing a card game, and it's listening to your conversations, and it's like speaking back at you. But like it's got
We
like
could do that though. Like it could be done.
It can be done, right? Obviously, you need to just invest money and time.
It'd be a lot of work, but it could be done.
Cost, you probably put 10 engineers or 10 researchers on that for like 3 years or something to eventually get that working. So you got to invest like, millions of dollars of paying researchers, not even including how much it's going to cost to train the AI. So it's going to cost a lot of money. You need to be a big tech company, have a team doing this. Like universities can't fund this. A reason why I don't want to be like a university lecturer. I want to go to a big company because you have access to those resources to do those cool, massive projects.
Especially those big companies with like unlimited amounts of resources.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of like the plan of what I want to be doing with my PhD. I want to like crack into that and getting into voice. Maybe working with large language models like ChatGPT and getting them working with board games. I want to eventually get to the point where we have speech and then video playing board games, and the AI can like look at people's faces and like use those and get those tells, for example. Yeah, that's like something I would love.
Another crazy thing about ChatGPT is you can ask it to do something, then you can ask it to do it in a different language.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah,
it's like fucking. It has the capability of every language in the world, like anything that's ever been written. It's fucking insane.
Yeah. I think it's just ridiculous what it can do, and I'm really excited to see what comes next. Like obviously there's going to be a ChatGPT 2, but I'm talking about like what are they going to apply that to that is not.
Yeah,
Chat.
that's what's going to be interesting.
I'm really excited to see what they do with
it.
It
is going to be interesting to see what they do with that. Well, this was fucking really fun, man.
Yeah,
I have a headache. I got to rewatch this episode like fucking 9 times before I release it, just to fucking see what's going on. But that was fucking really good.
Yeah, man.
That was really good. I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks
here, man.
heaps, man. I appreciate it.
No worries,
Thank you.
man. Cheers.